Hello, hello, everybody. How you doing? David Daway here. Tonight, I want to go over a video that was sent to me many months ago by Elishay, and I watched it. And periodically, I like to rewatch videos, and I realized I had not saved the link to this one. So he sent it to me again, and I rewatched it. And it just struck me that here's another man who has warned the citizens of the United States of what's coming, and we ignored him. You can look back in history, and there are dozens and dozens of people, some famous, some not so famous, who have warned the country, and we've been asleep. And now we're about to feel the pain. And what does that mean? Feel the pain? Well, at the very least, it's going to be an economic shift of the United States. It means your kids and your grandkids, they're going to have to do something really special to maintain any sense of standard of living compared to what you and your parents lived. And at worst, there'll be the complete dissolution of the United States in one form or another through war, civil war, many ways. So I'm just going to get right into the video, and I'll stop and comment on it. Now, I'm having computer problems with this computer, so hopefully it's going to work. Okay. Now, what I did was I put in the comments, there's a link, a StreamYard link to join the conversation. If anybody wants to come on, just make a comment that you want to come on, and then once I know you're coming on, then you can hit that link, and then you'll come on and join me in the conversation. Okay, but let's start by getting into this video. Now, this guy is Aaron Russo. He's a filmmaker. He did several movies. I'm sure most people have seen Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. He's the one who produced that movie. And he also had a movie, the thumbnail that I used, Freedom to Tyranny, I think is what it's called. And he goes, basically he expands on what this is actually a conversation he had with Alex Jones. And a lot of people I talk to, they're like, oh, I hate Alex Jones. I don't listen to him. Well, you know what? Alex Jones is out there fighting the fight. And you could say the same thing with Tucker Carlson. A lot of people are telling me they hate Tucker Carlson. He's compromised since the Russia thing or whatever. It doesn't matter. All that matters is what type of information they present. And then we use our heads, our brains, and we discuss it with family and friends and colleagues to determine whether there's smoke behind the fire, right? But the problem with our media today is nobody talks about this stuff. They just politicize it. They just do what their lobbyists tell them to do, and then they spin the news to tell a certain story. Okay. So I should have this queued up. Hopefully this works. We'll find out. Here we go. I'll stop it periodically. And when I stop it, if you want to come on and discuss any part of it, let me know. I have another computer here with comments open. So send me a comment if you want to come on. Thank you.
You rolling? I'm honored to be interviewed by Alex Jones, a truth seeker, fighting for justice in America.
Nice chart of me. It's getting me all smiling. Aaron, when did you start to think something was wrong in the world, or start to find out about the whole banking cartel, the Federal Reserve System, the New World Order?
Well, that was a progression of events. I've always been a very independent person. Always believed in individuality, and that we were put on this earth to be unique individuals to fulfill our God-given potential, and that the only way to fulfill your potential is to be free, to find out who you are, and to make your errors, to make mistakes. And as I grew up, I began to realize more and more the government was inhibiting me in things that I wanted to do. And what happened, I was very successful in the ladies' lingerie business. I worked for my dad. He had a small undergarment business, and I created the first ladies' bikini panties back in 1963, actually. And then I opened up a nightclub in Chicago called the Electric Theater that opened up the day Martin Luther King was assassinated.
Wow.
Right, and so the city of Chicago was in flames the day my club opened, and nobody came out to the club. And well, what happened was that that was the year of the Democratic Convention in Chicago in '68. And so my club became
Okay, I don't know if this thing's still running or not. I'm going to try. I switched computers. Give me a couple minutes. Yeah, unfortunately, this computer, it's just, it's on its last legs. And I've procrastinated in getting a new computer. But it's, if it can't even do this anymore, then what's the point of it? Okay, I have to, oh, come on. Yeah, this is an excellent video. And I would be surprised if very many people actually have seen it. Okay, I have the video queued here now, and I am going to, I'm just going to fast forward it to where we were. Okay. Okay, everybody, sorry about that. Okay, here we go. We're getting right into Aaron Russo right now.
A nightclub in Chicago called the Electric Theater that opened up the day Martin Luther King was assassinated.
Wow.
Right, and so the city of Chicago was in flames the day my club opened, and nobody came out to the club. And well, what happened was that that was the year of the Democratic Convention in Chicago in '68, and so my club became a hangout for the hippies, you know, and because they wanted to go to Chicago and protest what was going on. And I was having a concert at my club one night to raise money, and the police raided the nightclub, my club, for no reason at all. And I was standing outside in my office overlooking the street, and I saw all these paddy wagons pulling up in front of my club. And I was a 24-year-old kid. You know, I had no experience at all, really. So what are these paddy wagons doing here? And then I saw all these cops getting out of the paddy wagons coming into my club. I said, oh my God, they're raiding me. And so I ran down to the stage, and I got on the stage, and I stopped the band from playing. And I said to the people in the audience, we're being raided, you know, so sit down on the floor, cooperate, and pull out your identification and cooperate with the police. And as I said that, two of the cops from behind threw me onto the floor and grabbed me and started dragging me out of the club. I'm going, victory, victory, playing it for what it was worth at the time. I was a kid. And then I saw the fire department there, and the fire department was dumping garbage cans, the garbage all over the floor. And I thought to myself, well, why are they doing that? Very quickly as they were dragging me out. And I didn't quite understand it. So they threw me into the paddy wagon. As I got into the paddy wagon, one of the cops grabbed my testicles from behind and squeezed. And I went to the paddy wagon in gigantic pain. And the next person that came into the paddy wagon, the cop, as he was stepping in, the cop took the billy club, smashed him on the head with it, and just split his skull, for no reason. I mean, there was nothing wrong.
So that was kind of your wake up.
That was my awakening. Like, what is going on? I thought this was America. So I initially blamed it on Chicago and made a daily think it was Chicago. And anyway, it was the headlines of the newspapers the next day. There was my picture in the newspapers, headlines, Electric Theater short-circuited, it was raided. And in the article, they went ahead and they said that the reason they raided the club was because the fire department came there and saw it was messy, full of garbage, and the hippies started attacking them, which was totally not true.
Those dirty hippies?
Yeah, it was totally false. It was a complete fabrication.
So they ran a false flag on you. They framed you.
Yeah, of course. And I was in shock. I said, people lie like that? People actually do these things? I couldn't believe it. It was an awakening to me. And I went on television. I told people on television that they lied. Nobody cared. Nobody cared what the truth was. It was shocking to me. And then a week or A week or 2 weeks later, I forget exactly what it was. Two cops come to see me, a lieutenant and a sergeant, a captain and a sergeant. And they said, Mr. Russo, we're sorry if you got hurt that night at the club in the raid, but we're here to tell you that if you want to keep the club open, it's going to take $2,000 a month, and we can come see you once a month. And whenever we have to raid you, we're going to call you, and we'll let you know we're going to come in tonight and raid you.
This was mafia.
Well, the police mafia, And actually, it was actually more interesting that they said, listen, there's the A plan, there's the B plan, and there's the super deluxe plan. And this one, of course, each one costs that much money a month. Which one do you want?
What was the super deluxe?
That's the one I took. That was a $2,000 a month plan. And I took that plan, and I paid them $2,000 a month, and they left me alone. And whenever they were going to raid the club, they would come there. We're going to raid. We'd have a phony raid tonight, just to look good for the people in the neighborhood,
So that was your first big education?
That was my education into corruption in government, But I really thought that was basically Chicago. I didn't realize the whole country was like that. And so that was my wake-up call, that people lie and cheat and steal. And I thought everybody was always honest and nice and decent. And I had no idea about any of these things. Finally, one day they came to me and they said, look, we can't take your money anymore. I said, why? What's up? What's going on? I said, we have to close your club. There's elections coming. And the aldermen in the neighborhood don't want you open anymore. So we can't take your money. So I had to go to court and fight them. And they were trying to close the club. And then one night there was a fire and the club never reopened again. The club just closed. And that was the end of the club. And they burned me down. And that was the end of my experience. And then I moved back to New York, where I met Bette Midler. And I ran into her at a little nightclub she was playing called the Improv. And I thought she was fabulous. And through a series of events, I began managing her. And as soon as I started managing her, her career took off like a rocket. It was just fortuitous, I guess. And we became very, very successful. And through managing Bette, I started producing shows on Broadway where I won the Tony. And I produced the television show where I won the Emmy with Dustin Hoffman and Bette, and then I produced The Rose for her, where she got Academy Award nominations. Wow. And then that led me to producing Trading Places, which everybody knows.
I think it's the best Eddie Murphy movie.
Well, it's a good one. I don't know if it's the best, but it's a really good one. And I'm very proud I made that movie. And so in my mind, I feel as if I've made a classic comedy in Trading Places, a classic musical in The Rose, and a classic documentary in Freedom to Fascism. So I'm very proud of my work that I've done as a filmmaker. Back in the late 80s, I was a pretty big silver trader and gold trader. And I don't think I've ever told this story on tape before. I was a pretty big silver and gold trader. And I always paid my taxes. And I took what was a legal tax deduction on my silver trades. And a few years later, I think it was 88 or 89 or something, the IRS claimed that what I did, and other people did as well, was now illegal. We couldn't do it anymore. But they made it retroactive. I said, what do you mean retroactive? It was legal then. I did what was legal. I said, yeah, but now we're making it illegal retroactively. And that's not good. So you owe us $600,000 or $800,000. For what? It was legal. How could you make something retroactive? Change the law backwards in time. It makes no sense. Well, we're doing it. And so everybody said they can't do that. So we went to court, a class action lawsuit. And the judge agreed with the IRS and said they could do it retroactively. And that's when I knew that there was something wrong in America with the IRS and the system here,
Aaron, you were telling me the story last night. And before you even finished saying in the late 80s, the tax law, I said retroactive. And I knew that because they literally ruined my dad, but he paid. He didn't know. He still thought this was America. And it was legal tax law, what you're supposed to do. They said retroactively you owe, and with not just retroactive, but they said you also have penalties and interest.
That's right.
So how do you have penalties and interest on something when they retroactively change the law?
Well, first of all, they can't retroactively. How can you do something retroactively? Penalties and interest are a farce. The whole thing, because they do whatever they want to do. And that's when I realized America is not America. It's not the land that I was taught it was. Because they can do whatever they wish to do. And there's nothing the citizen can do about it.
Now, you've made America Freedom to Fascism. I want to walk through that film, and I want to encourage everybody out there to get a copy of it on DVD. It was also in theaters around the country. And I think the best film out there on the Federal Reserve and the IRS and the whole banker scam. And I want to discuss that with you here. But I wanted to go back a little bit to the point that we discussed last night, where you don't advise people to not pay. And I do the same thing. People say, well, wait, you're saying it's a scam, but you're saying go ahead and pay it. And I like the way you summed it up.
Well, it's really fairly simple. I mean, since making that movie, many people come to me and ask me whether they should pay their income taxes or not, and I never advise people not to pay. And the reason I tell them, I say, look, I've done a lot of research. The Supreme Court has ruled that the IRS has no authority. The 16th Amendment did not give the IRS the authority to tax your labor and your wages. That's a fact. All right, the Supreme Court is the law of the land, and the IRS does not trump the Supreme Court. However, that being the case, the fact is, if the mafia would come to you and say, we want $2,000 a month, or we're going to hurt you, I would not advise you not to pay them, because you may get hurt by not paying them. Whether it's legal or not doesn't necessarily matter. You're going to get hurt if you don't. It's the same thing with the IRS. They can hurt you. They can put you in jail. They can torture you. So if you don't pay them, you may get hurt. So I never advise people not to pay. I tell people, yeah, pay your taxes.
Look what happened to Congressman Hanson.
Yeah, Congressman Hanson is a great example. Pay your taxes. But you know what? Shut down the Federal Reserve System, and eventually you won't have to pay those taxes anymore. See, the IRS is a symptom of the problem. The real problem is the banking industry and the bankers in this country. That's where the real problem lies. That's the root of our problem. That's why we've lost America. Okay? So yeah, pay your taxes, because if you don't pay them, you might get hurt. And I've heard all the arguments, what tax protesters say and so on and so forth. And I don't call them tax protesters. I call them the tax honesty movement, because they're being honest, at least. But the fact of the matter is, you're being forced, you're being compelled to pay it, because you're facing jail sentences, you're facing time, you're facing corruption of the courts if you don't pay, right? And so you pay it, because you just like you pay the mafia. But with the mafia, at least you have the government to call and try and help you to get past the mafia, to protect you. Here, you have nobody to protect you. The American people are living in a matrix. They don't understand the truth of how things are working in this country, And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. The very fact is, if you ask 100 people on the street, what kind of government is America supposed to be? 99% of them will tell you a democracy. America is supposed to be a democracy. But that's a lie. That's an illusion. The word democracy is not written into the Constitution at one time. It's not in the Bill of Rights. It's not in the Declaration of Independence. The founding fathers hated the idea of a democracy. They thought it was the worst form of government there is. And I agree with them, because in a democracy, 51% of the people control 49% of the people. If you're part of the 49%, you're not free. America was founded as a constitutional republic. And in that constitutional republic that we have, 99% of the people can't take away the rights of 1%. You have your rights because you were born with them. You have God-given human rights that nobody can take away from you. The government, the majority, no matter who they are, I can't take away your rights. And that's what our founding fathers gave us. But the psychological operations that they do to us, they make us believe that we're a democracy and that majority rules, you see? And they want you to believe that. Because then they tell you this poll says this many want this and this many want that and this many want this, and it doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Well, Hitler was elected.
Hitler was elected. Hitler did everything legally.
And in a constitutional republic, a minority is protected against a majority. Wasn't it Benjamin Franklin, to paraphrase, that said democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner? Exactly.
And then he also said, in a republic, the sheep would have a gun to protect himself. And that's the truth. America's not a democracy, but you ask the most intelligent people what form of government America is supposed to be, they'll say democracy. Because that's what they've been brainwashed. They've been psyoped into believing that. They believe that we're in Iraq. They believe we're in Iraq to promote democracy. The word democracy, you hear George Bush saying democracy means freedom. No, democracy equals New World Order. Democracy equals slavery. The word democracy is not synonymous with freedom. It's the opposite of freedom. Democracy is the worst form of government you can have, because it's majority rule. And the government can tell you exactly what they want to tell you to do, because the majority wants it. I don't care what the majority wants. I live my life as I choose. And if I don't commit violence, theft, or fraud against another human being, I can live my life as I wish. That's my choice. And if I'm allowed to make mistakes, because when you make mistakes, you learn from them. You grow as a human being. We're put on this earth to become the best individuals we can be, to fulfill our God-given potential. Right? We're not here to put in the strength that the government can tell us how to live our lives and what we must do. We put into these systems and these paradigms. No, the same thing in health. If you're sick, you have to have a certain protocol. Nonsense. Be individuals. Think for yourself. Have critical thinking. And so what's happened is that because they've taught everybody that we're a democracy, which is not true. Now, so then in 1913, they bring the Federal Reserve System into being, right? And now you have this Federal Reserve System, which then in 1913 got the right to create money for the government, when before that the government created its own money. Now the government, when it needed money, had to borrow it from this private bank called the Federal Reserve, which is a private bank owned by individuals, incorporated in Delaware. And so what happens is now the government borrows money from them to fund the government. Then the government says, well, we have to pay these people interest. How are we going to pay them interest? Let's impose a tax on the labor of the American people, which never existed before, to pay the interest of the bankers.
In fact, in 1980, Ronald Reagan said not one red cent of your income tax money, guys who run the country, will all go to the Federal Reserve.
Well, it was the Gress Commission report that said that not one nickel goes to the infrastructure of the country.
I guess Reagan quoted that. Though,
right. And so, but the point I'm trying to make is that by creating this Federal Reserve System, the government now became dependent on these private banks for money, and they started taxing us. You see, and so now what happens is that in 35, I believe it was, Social Security started, and they gave Social Security cards, said not to be used for identification, the Social Security number right on the card, right? And through Social Security, they started deducting money out of your paycheck. That was the first time they were ever could take money out of your paycheck, because people agreed to it because they thought it was going to their retirement fund. And so then when they instituted the income tax again, they started taking money out of your paycheck because Social Security could do it. And then they could do it again. You see what I'm saying?
And so now they've even taken control of the tax payment itself. I mean, literally like you're a slave. They're taking it right there when you make it.
Exactly.
They don't even trust the public enough to go
send
and
them
pay
a check.
themselves,
Right. So they take it out automatically because they know people aren't going to want to pay it. So what's happened is that through the implementation of the Federal Reserve System, the government has become vested in these bankers, and they get their money from the bankers. And so then they impose a tax on us, which makes us more slaves, make it more difficult for us to survive, right? Giving them more profits. And now what's happened is that through the Federal Reserve System, the bankers have pretty much taken control of our government. It doesn't matter Republican and Democrat anymore.
Okay, Alashay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me as well?
I can hear you now. Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Hello. Welcome. Yeah. So, okay. So, you have any comments so far on what Aaron Russo is saying? I paused it here because he's about to get into the Federal Reserve System. And this is really where the country really needs to have a revolution, is banks, specifically the Federal Reserve System, is the greatest enemy to mankind. And it's I've had very heated debates with people over this who think that an economy can't run without a central bank. And I should pull out like old clips of Brezhnev and Yuri Andropov and other Russians from the Soviet Union, where they have their central planning committees. And it's hilarious. I read a long time ago how Joseph Stalin would kill his opponents and then adopt their ideas and promote it as his own. And that United States government and the people, the powers that be, they're very good at projecting. They're very good at putting onto their enemies what they're doing. And so you see it with Russia and China today. But the central banks, it's the amount of fraud there, because they get 6%. They collect a 6% annuity on every dollar created. So when you see the dollar chart going like this, they love it, because that's more money coming in their coffers. And I had one guy say to me saying, well, the Federal Reserve is obligated to pay back any money it has left over. Left over from what? There's no control on their spending. And guess what? We're not allowed to audit the Fed. For all we know, they're the ones buying NVIDIA right now, or Apple, or the debt. But we're not allowed to audit it. It's just, people are so, it's why it's never going to change, LJ. It's never going to change. There's just too many stupid people in this world who are happy. And what they'll say is, I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to hide. I'll give them all my freedom. I trust them. So
I'm just going to run a quick test. Can you hear me clearly? I can hear you very good, very well.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. And
But in the past, what happens is you tend to go in and out when you move away from whatever your speaker is.
no, that's the thing. But as you can see, I bought a new one. It's kind of
Oh, good.
like for the mobile devices,
Okay,
but I got the aux like plugging into the
that's
computer.
fine.
The thing
I hear
is,
you fine. If you see me go like this, it means I can't hear you.
all right, no problem. It's just that I think you can hear me through that mic, but from some sort of reason, I can still hear you from the computer, not through the earpieces. I don't know why. I guess it's partially functional, maybe something in relation to the settings or definitions. I don't know. I don't want to mess
Well, don't worry
around.
about it. Let's carry on here because I don't want to be on this for 4 hours. I just want to watch the video, make some comments, and be on our way.
Yeah,
And
yeah, sure.
but since
Let's
you're the
do
one
that.
who since you're the one who sent me this video, why don't you give me your thoughts on Aaron Russo? Um, and he's a very important person that nobody knows about. You agree or disagree?
If he's a really important person,
Well, what he tried to tell everybody.
well, no, he isn't. But
You don't think
hold
what he
on.
had to say was important?
No, I think it's very important. It's like an echo from the past. Ever since then, and look what he was talking about. Just bear with me one moment. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you the entire time.
All right. Uh, now?
Same.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Now I got to the.
This is a live stream, by the way.
I know it's completely fine. I'm sure whoever's watching will understand as well. Uh,
Nobody's
we-
watching right now.
well, I'm sure pretty much either the regular guys, different time zones,
Yeah,
will
see, when you
eventually.
turned away like that, I couldn't hear anything you were saying.
When I turn.
When you turned your head to the left, I could not hear anything you said.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Check.
yes, yes.
All right, fair
So
enough.
what I'm saying is don't start turning your head because you'll beep out just like you have in the past.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I know. I was just trying different functions of the setting in the StreamYard. Either way, as I was saying, I think that's a very important video and a very important thing's been said over there. It's like an echo from the past, and I think we
I just want to
all.
interject one thing. And the reason I'm so upset is because, this whole clown show with Biden, it's so obnoxious that this man was even allowed. But what makes me angry is so many people think Donald Trump is the answer. He's not the
No,
answer.
no, 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 no. As much as I obviously like, if you ask me to sit down with either of them, I will obviously prefer Donald Trump to sit down and have a debate with about anything really than Biden. The man is fried, he's gone. If it's really the real him, but that's a
Yeah,
totally different
I
story.
didn't mean to deviate. So we're back on Aaron Russo. But
Yeah,
that's why, it's like, I don't even like to talk about this stuff anymore because it's
it's a
why I'm
lost
in,
cause.
it's why I'm in Mexico. I
I
mean, it's the freaking Titanic. It's been hit by the iceberg. It's going down. It's going down.
actually, your analogy in relation to that is even kind of like giving the situation some sort of a compliment or a grace that it doesn't even deserve, because it's not even the Titanic being hidden by an iceberg; it's the Titanic being gang raped by a bunch of volcanoes and icebergs and explosives at the same time. Yeah, it's actually.
I can't even picture that.
Yeah, no,
I can picture an iceberg.
I gotta tell you, I can actually picture that.
You're phasing out. You're phasing out.
I'm saying, I actually can imagine that because I got a very fruitful imagination. So, um, yeah.
Okay, so you go ahead, Aaron Russo. What were you going to say about him?
First of all, as before um, everything that took place since that interview, I didn't even know much about the guy.
Yeah, and the
Um,
interview was what, early 2000s? Like right before, like a couple of years before he died, right? Because he's dead.
no, actually, that's what so makes it so sad and delusional. It wasn't a couple of years before he died. Basically,
Couple
what was
months.
it? No, that's the thing from what I've heard, and it wasn't long after that interview with Alex Jones.
He was
Uh,
diagnosed.
no, he diagnosed way before that, but it was pretty spry. It was pretty much okay, and I think it was maybe 3 weeks after that interview, suddenly out of the blue, I guess some of the things he said and exposed in that interview angered the wrong people. Ooh, imagine that, angering the wrong people. I mean, like, anger
Yeah,
is one thing.
his old friend Nick came by for a drink and put something in the drink, probably.
Could be him, could be someone from the same Apex level elite parties,
But
or
it's very easy to kill somebody slowly.
yeah, if you can flip them or they won't come on board, and let alone expose you, then you got to do something about that. But I'm not sure, like, why always killing and assassinations. I mean, haven't you killed enough people already worldwide with all your schemes and scams and plans? But I think, look, uh, ever
Well, it's
since,
like I think Stalin also said one death's a tragedy and a million's a statistic.
yeah, one is a tragedy, a million or a 10 million is a statistic, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's and in between the line, reading between the line, you don't even have to be a, I don't know, a high-end scholar to realize that, like, it's becoming the norm. Basically, um, when it becomes a sad statistical figure of mainly killing, maiming, whatever, it's a sad commentary for itself. It becomes the norm.
yeah,
People just like, yeah, people die every day. Fuck that. Who gives a shit? And let's crack on with life. But no, no, you see that there is that old saying. I'm not gonna say it the way it's because I can't recall it. But like in the beginning, and I think we mentioned it in previous interviews. In the beginning, they came for the
yeah,
farmers.
the tradesmen, and then
Yeah, and I was in the
then
farmer side, so I didn't care. And then they
they
came
came for
for
you, and there was no one
da, da,
left.
da, 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 a series of groups. But then they came for me, and there was no one left to stand for me. Like, there's no one.
Right.
Um, and I think that's the one of the core issues. Nobody nobody in society nowadays cares anymore. And the reason that I sent you all those videos that I captured online, um, in the public domain, whether it be YouTube or whether it's going to be other platforms, um, it's because there's interesting content in those uh, videos, whether it be like 15 to 20 minutes or a whole 1 2 hours documentary or more. It's because, like, they manage to they think they feel the I'm talking about the apex level elite and the low ranks, tier 1 2 3 etc level elites and other groups, whether if it's be one individuals or groups, um or families, they feel that, what, like, how many generations since World War I, and then how many generation it's been since World War II. They feel enough generation have passed right now. Now, a lot of people who used to live back then or until this
Well,
very day
right.
are
It's also
gone.
a 100-year cycle. 100-year cycle is when you tend to see things repeat because usually the people are dead who lived through those previous times.
Yes, but here's my question. Actually, a question and a comment. Like, okay, it's 100-year cycles. There's many cycles. There's natural cycles, unnatural cycles. There is hastening of events cycles. There's according to schedule cycles. There's delayed cycles. Either way,
Yeah, war cycles, astronomical cycles, weather
Exactly.
cycles, I mean, financial cycles.
Yep.
And, when you see these things plotted, this is how they determine when something really major is going to happen, when all of these things start intersecting at the same point in time.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's exactly my point. Like, I was trying to make, like, again, natural versus unnatural, according to schedule and or delayed and speeding up. And the thing, if you notice, in the modern era, the cycles in between one another are getting tighter and tighter and tighter. If you look in since the days of the Roman Empire or the ancient Greeks, like, it used to be a cycle of like hundreds, sometimes even almost a millennia, going back in history. Nowadays, it's barely a human spent. Like, you still got basically, let's say, Holocaust survivors or World War II survivors still living through that very day, uh, forgotten, voiceless. Did you know that even if in certain schools around the world, they don't they don't even bother to teach them about history, proper history, World War One, World War Two, all sorts of important things that have led to this, but not from a propaganda and indoctrination point of view, but actual point of view. And there you got this interview with Aaron Russo, like it was yesterday, literally like yesterday, when Alex Jones was still a young filly, less like bulky and everything, and going and making noise, banging on people, windows, doors, shaking trees, doing all that noise back in the days when he had the Infowars. And look, nowadays they even going after him one way or the other. They just don't want to. I'm assuming over here they don't want to cross him off, um, because he's not that big yet, and they don't want to create a martyr out of him. Like, let's say, he was considered as the father of
Well,
all
most,
conspiracy
yeah,
theorists.
yeah. Well, most people don't listen to him.
But you see, that's the point. I stopped paying
I'll bet
attention.
I'll bet you 2% of people online even pay attention to what Alex Jones. Like I've told you before, to me, he's like jazz. A lot of things are like jazz music, where I think he's very good, but after a while, if he has a message, he's good to listen to it. But then he goes off on these tangents, and because he's got to fill an hour show, right, or 2 hours.
No, no, no. That's not the reason. That's the hard. That's how to do. That's why sometimes we have, you and I, that is, we have, I wouldn't say disagreements. That's why it's all in my head, and you have a hard time sometimes to follow, or vice versa. Because you see, in a lot of ways, again, I'm not full on, fully funded, and with decades or more of experience like Alex Jones, but I understand the guy because I got so much in my head, and when I start to putting all the pieces together, that's what I tend to digress. This is what I tend to deviate and go back to the main theme, and
Well,
then
once you're awake, LSA, you can't not see this stuff, right?
but
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
yeah, this is why I would have told you that if you speak to Alec Jones directly, for example, you'll have the same thing like me. He will basically start off from a certain starting point, from a certain topic or talking point, and then he will scatter to five, six, maybe even 10 different streams, and he will tell you, "Can't you see the pattern here? How this all connected, and how it's all come from the same people, from the same influences, from the same powers that be, in order to achieve one, two, three, four, and then boom, it backs to the mainstream. That it's kind of like a cable, a conductor cable that is made out of several, kind of like a brazen, kind of like twisted in line with one another in the same agenda or timeline. Um, this is again, and
I want to get back to Aaron Russo.
yeah,
So what do you have to say about him?
Again, I think it
So
was
so the last thing before I interrupted you, you
yeah,
said this interview was like only a couple weeks before
yeah,
something.
yeah. That's what I came to learn.
Before
It was 3 weeks before he died.
before he
Miraculously,
died?
b- died as in like we presume he was well, 95.
That interview we're watching right now was only 3 weeks before he died?
Yeah, 3 weeks after that interview was taken with Alex Jones, the man I believe died and not out of natural cause. I believe they either speed up his illness because on the one hand I heard that he had remission in diagnose
I think
the
he died in either 2006 or 2007. And
I,
his movie came out, I think, in 2006.
you talking about the fruit of fascism, something like that?
Yeah, Freedom to Fascism.
Oh, sorry, freedom to fascism. Yeah, sorry, that's the because he had another one or two, but either way, like freedom of from freedom to fascism. Yeah. Um. Well, either way, did you got to see that movie? Is there even a reference on it online? Because like
Yeah,
I
I watched it online. This
yeah
discussion, the
yeah
freedom to fascism goes in depth into people who basically the 16th Amendment and paying taxes. That's really what that's about, and how they've convinced people to do something that's not even constitutional.
yeah, but you see,
And you see that a lot now. You see it today where our government is doing all these things that aren't constitutional besides the Federal Reserve. And their attitude is, what are you going to do about it?
yeah, but you see, this is why I told you back in the days, almost every government around the world that have basically copied the the governing process of the
Central banks.
no, not just central bank. Just central bank is essentially the real government, the shadow people. The thing is, and there are many, many tentacles. It could be finance, it could be behind energy, behind wars. It could be behind many, many, many things.
Well,
And
he refers to this. If you have a printing press, if
yeah,
you can if you can create unlimited money that you can spend on whatever you want, you're going to achieve whatever objective you want because cost is no objective. And look at it's insane. Look at the hockey stick of the debt over the last 10 years.
especially over the last five, that sharply been. But we're talking about domestic debt or global debt because both of them are
I'm
on the
talking
rise, right?
talking US debt because
Yeah,
The US debt is
yeah, true.
nobody thinks it's alarming.
No, it's astonishing numbers. It's just let's put it this way: the United States became in the last 53 or more years, 53, 54 plus years, from industrialized crediting nation to the largest debtor
Yeah, I
in
get
the
it.
world.
Listen, I don't want to go off on a tangent. I'm not going to interrupt you, but I want you to try to focus on being concise because you're like Dan in some ways where you take like a mile to go a yard. So I just want you to be concise in your thoughts on Aaron Russo, if you could.
Yeah, again, so prior to that interview and its publication, I didn't know much about the person. Didn't know of his existence, what he was doing before, during. Um, I didn't even know he was that deep in the rabbit hole and lead with those people. But then again, just like a free, independent, critical thinker, I think he didn't die out of natural causes nor from his illness that showed remission back in the days. I think he was assassinated because he revealed things that angered the wrong people and
Secrets, yeah.
secrets or embarrassing things or things that might have led to. I'm surprised that that interview is still up out there. To be honest, because if they crack down and censor shitload of other low grade stuff. I mean, but either way, he was right from several aspects, and not just from the financial aspect of it. Do you remember when he was talking about the apex level elites and the CFR, the Council for Relations? He was mentioning the fact that um,
Well,
he
what
was
he
meant.
said is 9 out of 10 of the people, like a majority, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, a majority of the people are on those organizations for their own, usually financial well-being or for prestige. And there's a very small minority that control it and are nefarious with their intentions. That's what I remember him saying.
Yeah, yeah, but he also said that there's actual people that actually think that they're doing the right thing. I mean, like for me, it's astonishing. Like, how stupid do you need to be, and how people in general, how stupid or naive, if not evil, then how stupid or naive you can be in order to think you're actually doing the right thing by promoting wars, genocide, uh, or general ideas like the modern days nonsensical stuff that it's pure bullshit, like climate change, like all those nonsensical, all those things, and then we both know that even those people on this Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Committee, the Tavistock Institution, etc., they don't believe that bullshit, but they somehow found a way to convince the masses. There's an old saying by the globalist cabals from different angles: control the media, control the mind. Don't think that only if you control the money supply and the energy and the food supply, the supply chain in general, of several essentials, that you're on top. There's also another key ingredient: is control the media, control the minds of the masses.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I just today, like during when was it? During dinner with my children and my wife, there was the quarterfinals of the Euros soccer matches. When who was it? England against Switzerland. They ended up like with 1-1, and then extra time, and then penalties. And I'm like, and okay, so I kind of like told, no, no, that's the thing. I kind of like told the missus, like, you do realize it's just a funny bunny distraction when so many million tiny, medium sized, and large scale events happen around the world that affect everyone, including you and I and the children. And this is like, do you remember just like that analogy that actually came to fruition to a meme? Like a picture split in two. One side is an ancient Colosseum where the gladiators used to fight, half a pitch, and the other half is a modern day circle of a soccer stadium. And basically on top and underneath there is captions that says,
Bread and
um,
circuses.
that's the original, but basically another one that caught my attention is the same one, only with a different title. Uh, I think it was a quote also from 1984, the book of George Orwell. Basically, give the masses some bread and beer. Controlling them wasn't that difficult. Just to give them a distraction, like kind of like you toss a piece of juicy steak to a dog, or a piece of toy to a baby or a toddler, just to calm them down in the middle. It's a sad commentary for itself. Instead of paying attention to life, like that dog you just bought or adopted, or the baby you just brought to the world, lift him up, hug him, uh, give him the food yourself, interact with him, not it, him or her, whatever. The baby, the dog. Uh, no, just throw away something to distract because you're so self centered. Okay, if you got a lot on your plate, every now and then
Yeah,
it's
well,
understandable.
let's try. See, we got to keep it concise.
Okay, my
All
main
right,
point,
we're
my
going
main
down
point,
a pipeline.
yeah, okay, my main point is, uh, he actually stated in the interview that people actually, and I find that very difficult to believe, people actually thought they were doing the right thing. How can you be, again, if you're not downright evil, you're either very stupid and or naive, not you, meaning the people who work there.
It's
Uh,
ignorance. Yeah.
Stupid, naive, or you just an effing coward to speak out against it and just sit like, what the hell? If you can't beat them, let's join them, right? And I like, this is wrong in so many levels. You we just barely scratching the surface to peel off the layers. So that's my personal opinion. And I you know what? I have no love or compassion or empathy or sympathy to those people, whether if they have money or not, whether if they thinking they're doing the right thing or not. Like, I started developed an angle of like, I got zero tolerance, not just for evil, but even to stupidity. To some degree, I can tolerate it ish, if I know that the people are genuinely brainwashed, misinformed, disinformed. In which case, I won't harm them, but I'll just disengage because I know they're a lost cause, they're a lost battle. Especially in nowadays and age, when I see so many dumbed down people, whether if there'll be young people,
Well,
mainly
let me
students.
just interject that.
Yeah,
Imagine how many hours you've spent educating yourself and researching these things. Most people aren't going to put in that time and energy.
because again,
It's not
either they,
important to them. It's not
because
important.
again, three reasons: either they're lazy,
No,
ignorant.
they're probably doing very well financially. They think that their families are okay. They don't sense any danger. They don't believe any of this conspiracy stuff. So why waste
Yeah,
their time and energy on those items?
sure, sure, sure. Yeah, right. Okay, so let's see. Since the time, what was it? Uh, uh, what do they call it? Planet Prison, Infowars, True News, Band.video, all those platforms we're talking about like over 10 years ago, man.
Yeah, Planet Ponzi. Yeah.
Yeah, they talked about it for like literally nowadays, as we talk, they spoke about it for like what, 20 years? Even before uh, the biggest bank heist of the 9/11 crap, which we don't have to go in right now. We shouldn't either. Um, who knows? The thing
Well,
is,
the other
the-
thing that Aaron Russo said that was really interesting is his explanation when the Rockefeller guy asked him about um, women in the workforce.
and then that's exactly what I told you back.
It was a beautiful explanation.
Yeah, yeah. There you have it. Now we can tax the second half of the population. And now there won't be anyone at home to teach the children the old ways, so we can indoctrinate them by sending them to public schools from a very young age. That's what I was about to say. Nowadays, whether if it's a young,
It all comes down to the destruction of the family, man.
the family core, the family nucleus, and I'm not even.
People don't believe this. People don't believe this. They see the destruction in front of them and they don't believe it.
But you see, if you would have talked to me like about 4, 5, 6 years ago, and you were
Talk
telling
to who?
me, if you would have talked to me
Oh, okay.
4, 5, 6 years ago, maybe take her out an additional 6 months, I would have, again, whether if it's young adults like mid and 20s, beginning mid and 20s students, young adults my age, or elderly people, or really, really like older people than I am, or elderly people, I would have grind my teeth. I would like, fuck, how can a person be so dense and stupid and blind to anything around them? Like, and again, either they just indoctrinated, they're in on it, or they're just effing cowards who's afraid to stand up to it. So just bow down their heads and they go along with it, think it will pass away. But no, no. If even if it's gonna bounce over you,
It's the same
you
reason why people follow illegal orders, right?
to some degree, yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, it's on the perspective. Who established the fact that like a legal versus illegal orders? It's
Well,
mainly the Western civilization. Now,
Elshad, go kill those people, or go lock this guy in jail, or whatever. Like all the people who had Assange in jail, right? They don't think they did anything wrong.
I would say that the people that's kind of like splitting hairs, but not really. I think that the whole people who were hired to hunt down and arrest, torture, imprison, falsely imprison Assange, and even coerce them to sign that bullshit plea deal to begin
No,
with.
I mean the guys who are guarding Assange. Hey man, I'm just doing my job. Just like the
Yeah,
guy, just like the
no,
guy who put the nail through Jesus's arm
yeah,
onto the
no,
cross.
no,
I'm
not
not
in,
doing anything wrong. I'm just
no.
doing my job.
Oh, come on. These are unique cases. Just like you're saying, the guards that stood guard when in the night,
No,
when
how about the jackasses who would chase people down on the beaches who were fishing? Nobody's around them during COVID and arrest them. Really? I mean, there's so many examples of this.
yes, but again, there is examples of like in the back of their mind, yeah, I'm just doing my job, I'm just following orders, which is essentially what even the fucking Nazis says. What, you didn't notice right from wrong? You didn't notice people screaming in
No, no,
agony and in pain?
well, I'll bet you most of those people are like, hey man, I'm the law, you're doing wrong, and it's my job to hit you over the head.
But that's my point. They're not the law. They're not the law, and let alone above the law. They're going on a power trip. That this is you just a representative of the law, and even then you should activate your own common sense between right and wrong. The law is just a piece of it, especially man-made law. It's just a piece of paper. There's right and there's wrong,
Elishade,
and in
Elishade.
between, somewhere in between, there's life.
We have a recent example to know the answer to this question. The jab. What percentage of people in England took the jab? Is it more than 50% or less than 50%?
More than 50%,
Of course,
100%,
of course.
definitely.
And in the United States, it's at least 2/3.
Yeah.
And so right there, you know that those people are incapable of one of two things. Either they're incapable of logically thinking this through, or they have a financial interest they're not willing to put at risk, which is the most dangerous, because that's the problem with the United States. That's why the stock market is doing what it's doing, because the United States loves all this shit. They love being complicit because we get the cheap oil, we get the cheap shit from China, we get the cheapest gasoline, cheapest food.
When you're saying we, who do you referring to? You're referring to the
U.S.
government, or you're
citizens,
referring to the people?
U.S. citizens, U.S.
Yeah,
citizens.
yeah. Well, they are the victim of becoming like brainless consumers of buying cheap manufactured Chinese shit. Some of it, which is most of it, isn't.
Can't
And
hear you.
they
You-
can you hear me now?
Yeah, you beeped
All right.
out. Yeah,
Yes. So sorry about that. Like again, it's on
there you
so
go. You're out.
yeah,
When you turn
out
your
again.
head, when you turn your head, it's out.
Probably because of the plugging or something. I'm sorry about that. It happens every now and then. Um, where was I? Yeah. So they consuming whether if it's a long lasting product or products they continuously need to buy on and on and on and on. Listen, who benefits from all this? The people who exported all the industry and now became the sole importers of this. This whatever product you're talking about, a handful of group of people that could control multinational or national corporations. So
Yeah, it basically the country stands for nothing now. Country
Yeah,
stands for nothing.
which
You
which is the
can't make anything anymore.
point I was trying to make. If you were to talk to me 4, 5, 6 years ago, and you would have talked to me about these people from different age groups, and you would have told me, like, and I would have debating with them, like I was grinding my teeth, telling them, like, how can you be so stupid? I might as well, like, you know what, I'd bloody punch you in the head, recalibrate your brain or something, or just walk away because you're bringing me down to your level. I don't want to be there. Nowadays, David, talk to me. I'm not going to tell you I'm calm as a flat ocean, but I just don't care anymore. I
Well,
just
it's
don't.
going to change, and this is the danger of like people like us and some others that we've talked to. They want to, they feel so strongly. Like I have a friend who ran for political office because he felt so strongly that he needed to do something. He couldn't just do nothing. And that I think is just going to get you killed today or locked up.
Let me
Because,
ask. Let me ask you a
and I've
question,
had
David.
this debate with Dan where he thinks, oh, these cells are going to pop up and they're going to fight the government. There's going to be pockets in Florida and Texas. I'd be like, no way. They may pop up, but the government will just isolate them and knock them out. With the equipment they have, they'll take them out in days.
The, Probably the feds are gonna steamroll all over them, like within days, maximum weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Half the
but
group will probably be feds.
sorry.
Half of the group will probably be plants from the feds.
Agent provocateurs could be, yeah. But my question is like tell me something.
And all these jobs being created, people don't see this is what the government does historically, and this is the other thing they do is they lie. They lie to achieve their objective, and then it doesn't matter that you find out there was a lie afterwards because they got their goal. You can't undo what they've done. So all these job numbers coming out now, people just hear, hey, they created 300,000 jobs. It's a new record or whatever. But what they don't realize is a month later, they revise it down 100,000. Oops, we miscounted, just like ballots. And number two, most of the jobs being created are in government.
It's not only that. For
And so
every
government doesn't create anything. They have to steal your money to pay these people.
Yeah, but yeah, it's go in another way. For every what 206,000 or 300,000 jobs they created, how much on the scale, how much percentage, or in numbers, plain numbers, unemployment, people who losing their job. Yeah, we created 250,000 jobs. How many people lost their job or being redundant or went to a part-time
Well,
because
they're double, triple, quadruple counting job openings. So they'll say there's a 500,000 jobs out there, but it's posted like 5 different times. So they count it 5 times. And just like in jobs, Elishay, if you got a job at Pizza Hut and then you got another job at McDonald's and another job, working security, you've got 3 jobs. So they're counting you 3 times in those jobs, but you're one guy. And a lot of people who are working those 3 jobs are barely making ends meet because they lose their job. They lost their job at whatever company making
Mhm.
100 grand, and now they've got to go work these 3 jobs to make half of what they were making before. But
Oh,
the
that's
economy is great because we only lost 1 job and we gained 3.
sure. Yeah, that's a great.
But that's what people point to right now, saying it's the greatest economy ever. Look at the jobs. Look at the jobs. It's a fraud, people. It's a fraud. It's a lie.
Well, you have to look no further than, like, let's say right now when they cutting on the VA for military veteran and the Social Security to pay. Yes, and I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna say it: illegal aliens, illegal immigrants not like those woke brainless retards in the news. Oh, we actually don't like this term over here. We prefer the term undocumented. Right, right. I tell you, it's a word salad. Uh, it's gonna be a cry out for generations to come, if there's gonna be generations to come from
Well,
from
there'd be
our end.
no problem. There'd be no problem with these people coming over if there was no public, if there was, these people would not be coming if there was no government handouts. Because that's what a lot of these modern immigrants are coming here because it's
It's
gotten back that, hey, you get there and everything's paid for.
it's
It's been
several
that way
ang
for decades.
David, there's several angles into this. I'm sorry, it's not just government handouts. It's let's say if you look at the different states that bordering with Mexico and other uh, mid Latin American countries, kind of like central Latin American countries, or in general Central America.
Yeah, coming from Canada as well. I was just
Okay,
reading that they had their largest influx of illegal immigrants coming
so,
over the border from the north now.
which is the largest border the U.S. have at the moment, like with Canada, which I believe is what, like third or fourth largest country in the world, like size-wise, not necessarily.
I think it's second behind Russia, Canada.
No, no, China is way bigger.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
No,
The United States is actually bigger than China if you include Alaska.
okay,
China,
fair
I
enough.
believe, is fourth or fifth.
No,
Fourth.
fourth. No, fourth
The
is
United
Brazil.
States,
Fourth is Brazil. Brazil. I'm talking about, like, forget about population. I'm talking about
I'm
like
talking
square
landmass. Russia,
mile.
Canada's two, and I'm pretty sure the United States is three and China's four. And Brazil is five.
Probably, yeah, because Brazil is the number one in Latin America and South America. So, um, but yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, look at it this way: you got from the north, you got North America, Central America, South America, all those nations, influx of migrants illegally. I'm not talking about the people who came legally through the proper pipelines, paid the fees, had the background check on them and their families or their dependents that come along with them. I'm not talking about those. I'm not talking about those people, whether they getting paid or not and getting a government incentive. That's a different story. They come prepared, at most cases at least, and they come in order to integrate in American society. Whether if they bring some of their stuff and customs with them, it's a normal thing to see in any culture migrated to. Why you think when I migrated to the UK, what I didn't brought 90% of my personal stuff together and some of my customs or something like that, or habits. I even developed new ones over here, but it doesn't mean that I haven't fully integrated and I'm not
Well, we'll have
well
to talk
rooted.
about that sometime, how you chose England and what that process was like.
No, I don't think I actually like necessarily chose. It just happened to be because,
Because of your wife?
yeah, because when we sat down and discussed, like, okay, uh, so it's getting serious and we're about to get married and establish a family, and
Did you meet her in Israel?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I already told you she was kind of like the cousin of a childhood friend of mine.
I
Uh,
don't
uh,
remember. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah, fine. No, you can just watch our previous
Yeah,
videos,
yeah.
and then we kind of like met each other, and then like, okay, well, I know that raising children in a forever lasting wars zone, like Israel, might not be the right place. It might have been a good idea 20 years ago. We still had wars, but things were a bit more on an even keel in a way. But nowadays, hell no. Even though, like, where is safe nowadays, David?
No, I hear you. I didn't mean to get you off the topic there. We'll discuss it another time because I think it's fascinating because technically you are an immigrant, right?
Yeah.
Right? So you have experience with this that I don't. Although I guess I am an immigrant myself to a certain, I'm an immigrant.
Yeah, the reverse. What do the guys at Rogue News call it? The reverse coyote thing. Like, like instead of like smuggling people from Mexico to the States, it's reversed. It's like you're sending people you kind of like smuggling people from the States
Hey,
now to
anybody,
Mexico.
yeah, I'm sorry. Anybody who wants to come on, there's a link. That's the link. Click on that and you can join us if you want to come on and make a comment or join the discussion. So,
Yeah, sure thing.
because I really don't have anything to add. I just wanted to show what Aaron Russo, and I'll put a link in the bottom of the video. And since you sent it to me, I wanted to get your input on it and on what your thought was, because, after watching it the second time, I realized that, and he died before I was awake. I didn't wake up till 2007 to 2008. That's when I started to really start to realize, oh my God.
There you have it.
And I was 40 years old.
Well,
So I don't want to call people stupid. I was ignorant. I was ignorant because I was so busy running to stand still. I was so busy trying to hold everything up in the air. It took everything I had to hold everything up in the air.
listen, David, when I had my slapped awakening gradually, climbing up the ladder of knowledge, experiencing and self-research, asking the right questions, sometimes getting the right answers as well, but also sometimes getting nothing but pure bullshit from people or the system, which have at times miserably failed me, which is why I decided to walk off. This is why you won't catch me uh, being a part of any, you know one of them official social projects or something like that. um I'm here, I'm getting the job done. Sometimes I'm going even the extra mile to do the right thing, but as they say, sometimes no good deed goes unpunished. um I'm doing the right thing without losing my humanity. And also, nowadays it's so ridiculous. There's so many regulation and legislation about almost every aspect of our lives
It's a
that
joke.
even if no, it's not just a joke. Listen to this. In my line of work, especially when it comes to the private security services, we had to go through a top up refreshing course.
Yeah, you said on DEI, right?
Yeah, but forget about that. That one I couldn't stand. Is like, because we both know what it means. In theory, on paper, it sounds nice. Everybody get along with each other. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. On practice, it means everything and everyone. Yeah, as long as it's non-white of any kind, let alone white Caucasian, non-white, straight, and with religious and moral values. So f that. Sorry. Um, so actually, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but so. um, so yeah, but regardless, we had to go through an emergency advanced first aid at the line of work, and also hand-to-hand combat, self-defense, and counter-terror. How to catch, how to become, like, I don't know, for future in the future, if you're still active and licensed, then basically how to come, I don't know, helping the new forming up Stasi or Waffen SS or Gestapo, I don't know, to become that, to suppress quiet protests. of the people with violence. I don't know. Either way, in each side of the aisle, you got useful idiots. But coming back to the topic, because I digressed a bit, but I had a friend. He's quite old. He's way older than me. I would assume even slightly over your age, but by a few years. But you probably belong to the same generation as he is. Probably born in the same decade.
Gee,
But
thank you.
no. He's not. Again, older than me doesn't mean like
I get,
ancient or elder. I'm saying
I'm joking. It is
I
what
know.
it is. It is what it is.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just the only thing I'm trying to say is that he told me, listen, what if you got the extra license on top of your private security license in the private sector or not? Listen to me carefully. And he told me in a private conversation in confidence whether if I uh, follow through his instructions or not at times, that's a different issue. He told me, whether if you do or don't, if you see someone who is injured on the premises you're in charge of, or let alone outside of it, immediately call the emergency services of police, ambulance, and by necessity to the fire brigade. Um, don't touch him. Just let basically disengage
Yeah,
and
yeah.
kind of like make people walk away. He said because you see, even if you're licensed, let alone if you're not licensed to handle those kind of situations.
Are they worried about getting sued?
Exactly. If something happens naturally, unnaturally, because you intervene by, I don't know, trying to lift them up or uh, um, starting initiating CPR, and if
Yeah,
something happens,
you're not trained to do it, blah, blah, blah. So,
okay, basically, so if don't do it, just try to avoid it as much as you can because if something goes wrong with them, everybody going to shake off the responsibility and the accountability from their hands and it all come down to you. And nowadays it's so ridiculous that it's not if you do something and that their medical or health situation is further declining. It's even if you don't do anything, they'll they'll probably crucify you. So like hold on, besides the private security, the security industry, uh, private sector license, you had the additional license of the qualifications of, you know, providing uh, first aid until emergency services arriving. So why didn't you do anything? So you're fucked either way. Sorry for saying, sorry for the language, but
yeah.
and he just said they're gonna come after you with everything for every penny you've got. You're gonna work your whole life for nothing. 1 million, 2 million euros, pounds, dollars, just name it. Like they're gonna come after you with everything they got. Uh, so yeah, it's unfortunate, but I used to be in the business of saving lives, preserving lives, protecting life. Nowadays, it seems like you cannot even do that without having the entire government and the judicial brand and the law enforcement, all of the above, so far up your rear end that if there's spit, it's
Yeah.
going to come out of your mouth.
Well, listen, I want how. What does this have to do with the topic of Aaron Russo and what we're talking about?
I'll tell you how.
Okay.
I began by saying that again, if you were to talk to me 5, 6 years ago and plus, I would have grind my teeth. Today, I just don't care. I got look, people like you and I and other critical thinkers. Okay, we do our dead level best to preserve ourselves and the people we love and care about. When it comes to the rest of them, you know what? They voted for this. Let them
Well, you
choke on
already
it.
see, like I said, COVID is a great thing. They're coming out now. So a lot of these people now are coming out and saying, "Why didn't you warn us? Why didn't you stand up and say?" Right? That's what they're going to say when this thing falls apart. Why didn't you tell me to prepare? Why didn't
Yeah.
you tell me what to do?
Can I say can I sidebar something on the personal level, David?
Yeah.
Did you know that in my children's school, how many parents, listen carefully to what I'm about to say, how many parents, whether it be the moms, the dads, or in some cases, in the minority of the cases, both, they're not speaking to me. Listen carefully. They ignore me intentionally, whether if it's be between us adults and four eyes, or several adults, or in front of the children while our children go to the same class and play together. They don't think the children pay attention, and then like their children go to them and say like, how come you didn't say hello back to him, the father of that
Right.
particular child who's go to the same class with me? And they think they're so well read and so well educated and well informed, and they're
Well,
flotsam and
they're not going to remember this because now they're going to spin it. This is gaslighting because
exactly.
now you have people actually saying it's a joke. They don't really believe it. What? Biden's Biden's incompetent? When did that happen?
Oh, I'm not even talking about political
I,
opinions
I know this.
or
I'm just using
affiliation.
a recent example people will be seeing right now.
I totally get it, but listen to this. When I told them, do not, I couldn't stress it enough. Like I wasn't.
You're combative in their mind, and that's why you talk about things that are you're not talking about the weather or the football team or whatever.
Yeah, of course. I'm talking about something
So
that it's a taboo of some sort.
yeah.
But I said,
Hey,
I
listen,
said,
let's keep it to the kids, okay? Let's
yeah,
talk about Susie and Bobby. That's it.
exactly. But that's my point. They just until this very day. Back then, I cared. Today, when all of them, well, not all of them, but a lot of them, starting to showing symptoms of human immune system deficiency, and they're
Well, it's
starting to
too
lose
bad.
weight. They're losing weight and teeth, and they look like they're about, either they're about to get the big C, or they just won the big C. You know what? I gotta tell you, I do not rejoice in their illness or in their. I'm not that type of guy, but grudge holding vindictive. But you know what? I'm just kind of like laughing, not because of their state of affairs. I'm laughing because when I told you so, and yes, I did. I
Yeah,
told you
but they're thinking, who the hell are you? You're not Anthony Fauci. You're not Bill Gates.
Anthony
You're
Fauci
not
can jump
Boris
over.
Johnson.
Listen,
I'm
Anthony
just telling you.
Fauci,
I'm just telling you. These
all
people are incapable. It's like why doctors are the worst enemy right now because all doctors do is memorize shit today, and so they'll tell you if it's not in the latest journal. If it's not in the latest journal, I don't believe
well,
it. I
you,
don't believe it.
I think you flipped a few things over there because I'm not even sure that any doctor is even bothering to stay informed of any journal nowadays. It's just like whatever they learned plus whatever update
No,
of
that's what they'll
some
tell you.
murky BS
I've had
research.
this conversation with multiple doctors, and they will tell you, I did not believe anything was wrong with the jab because all of the most important journals were publishing data that backed the jabs.
Of
Okay?
course.
And so who are we going to believe? This is who we're supposed to believe, is what they think. They don't have the ability, most of them, to think through this. Most of them are specialists. And if you ask them a question about something, they'll be like, well, I'm really not educated to speak on that topic, even though I'm a doctor. I'm
What?
not this type of specialist.
So
I'm
you,
just gonna, something just popped into my head. Story today or yesterday came to my attention.
yeah.
This woman that a friend of mine knew, she had cancer,
Mm,
and this was before COVID.
hmm.
And she did all the treatments. She was in regression, but you have to continue your treatments.
Yeah.
Okay, COVID came, and this cancer treatment center told this woman, if you don't get the jab, you can't come here for treatments.
Mm.
She's like, I don't want to take the jab. She's like, they said, then you can't continue to do treatments. What's this woman going to do? What's this
So
woman going to do?
let me take a wild guess. She took the jab and her situation was worsening off.
She took the jab, and now she's in hospice right now.
Oh, great.
So she's dead. She's dead because you go to hospice. I think the rules of hospice is if they think you have less than 90 or 100 days or less, they'll let you into hospice.
Yeah, you
So I
see,
heard that, and that made me so mad. It boiled my blood. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, this is murder.
plain and simple.
And
What would you say? What would you say about them in especially on the western seaboard of the deep blue dyed state, especially in New
they're not
York?
going to believe it.
No, no, no.
There's no causation.
I'm talking about like places like when um who's the governor in the New York State and New York
Cuomo.
City?
Cuomo.
Yeah, Andrew Cuomo, the homo. Um, yeah, that guy. And in the state of Michigan, that Gretchen Whitmore,
Yeah.
and
Who could be our next president in the
yeah,
United
well,
States?
I highly doubt it. But if she is, she's just another attention.
Well, who thought Kamala Harris would be our vice president?
Yeah, with that lovely blood chilling cackle. But either way, what I'm trying to, do you remember at the peak of the pre-planned pandemic, they were literally piling up elderly people with underlying health issues in care homes and basically stuffed them in there like I don't know, like fucking 50 in a room or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. And I think
Y-
New York had like 300 of them in a weekend die or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you tell me. They were sleeping like 15 in a room, heads and tails, each one in each other rear end, men and women alike. One fart and the other four can taste it. Yeah, not smell it, taste it, and they were already having underlying health issues. Now
Yeah.
you
And then
tell
they
me,
put them on ventilators and it was ball game over.
tell me that that's not a slaughterhouse. You're talking about you just mentioned that woman. How about these cases of the individual?
Well, the jab killed my father.
I'm sorry to hear that, my friend.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yep. We were faced with the same thing. We were faced with the same thing. Unfortunately, my father was uh, very strong personality, and he could be real bad sometimes, and especially when his mind was going. And long story short, the place that we put him in, we could see what was going on, and we discussed this with them when we put him there. And
mm,
he was there, I think, 3 years, and they decided that, hey, you know how they didn't say it like this, but hey, you know how we said that we could accommodate your father as he declined? Well, we lied. Our corporate people don't want to put out the expense for this anymore. So you're going to have to move your father. So moving an elderly person when they still have some degree of cognitive ability and normalcy, it's not
mm.
too hard because places interview them. Oh, you seem like a nice person, sir. You know, and they let you in, and then they deal with you when you go down. Well, basically, they kicked my father out, and we had to find a place. And there was only one place in all of New England we found that would take him, which happened to be actually up near me. And he lasted 1 week in this place, 1 week,
And
because
then he,
he just, I don't know what the terms are. He had sundowning, so some sort of early form of dementia or something like this.
yeah,
And these
kind of like my
places,
father-in-law. Yeah.
these places just, they say they are, but they don't have the people who deal with this. The nurse, I was there, and the nurse at this new place was combative with my father, like arguing with him. I'm like, hold on here. I said, are you a trained professional or what?
No,
And
she's
and
probably an affirmative action hiree or DEI hiree. She's fully infected.
it's
Yeah.
long story short, he lasted a week, and they said they called the cops on him because
Oh,
they said he hit a nurse. Well,
sure.
we have a camera in the room. They
Yeah.
lied. They lied
Yeah.
because they wanted him gone because he was very combative. He was not one of these nice elderly people who just sat there and took what he was tough. And
Yeah.
so there were no places that would take my father. None in all of New England.
Shit.
So you know where they sent him? They sent him to a mental asylum
Oh,
in another state. They shipped him 100 miles away to a mental asylum. And I went down to see, they wouldn't even let family go for the first week to see him. So
I see.
as soon as I was allowed to go down there, I went down, and they had him so drugged up, just like in Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest. He was in the room. I should post the video. I have a video of him. I almost went through that place like a tornado, kicking the shit out of people. I called the doctor. I said, "What the?" I was very calm, but I was like, "What is this? This is not acceptable. You can't do this." And they told me that they actually can, because he's in the state facility, blah blah blah, and
Yeah.
made me so angry. So long story short, by a miracle from God, my brother found a place up in Concord, New Hampshire, that somebody died and there was an open bed. It was a miracle that a bed opened. And we got him up there, and we asked before he went up there, do you have to take the jab? They said, no, it's not required. You don't have to take it. And because we said, listen, if you require the jab, he's not going. He's not taking it.
Yeah, so a golden opportunity opened up.
We sent him there. 3 months later, we got my sister, who's a doctor. She's in charge of his care, and they said, "Hey, your father's not jabbed," and we're like, "Yeah, we know. This is the first thing we addressed with you people." They're like, "Oh no, that's wrong. You're going to have to get him jabbed, or he's going to have to leave immediately."
So it's a con game. You should have got them on the record and record them.
It doesn't matter. And I mean, what are you going to do?
So
Because there
eventually,
were no. Well, we're going to send him back to the nut house. And at that point, I had sold my house. I mean, I was gone. It's and um, and nobody was in a position to bring my father into their house. It's sad
neither
to say.
your brother, your sister, his
Well,
brothers or sisters.
my father now needed special care. Special
Hmm.
care.
Yeah.
You needed to have not just a nurse, you needed to have one of these specialist people 24 hours a day. It was going to
Yeah.
cost, I think, $30,000 a month or $40,000 a month.
30, 40K a month. Holy
If we, yeah, run the numbers. Run the numbers. If you have 24-hour care it was just at $100 an hour. That's $2,400 a day. That's 60,000 a month, Elishay.
Yeah, no, it's like well, I mean, like in my family, we experienced similar things.
So we
Only the
talked
number
about
were
it.
different,
Yeah,
and we used to take care of our own. So
yeah.
that's why
Well,
I'm so baffled. Like, I mean,
yeah, it's unfortunate. I still hope he forgives me. But basically, we killed my father because we allowed him to get that shot. We allowed him to get the jab. He was dead within a month. Yeah.
like I'm so saddened to hear that because it takes me back to totally unrelated. He was like,
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
I'm saying it's totally unrelated because it's somewhat related because he was my father, but that was.
Well, listen, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent because
No.
it's completely off topic.
It was almost 20 years ago. The only thing I'm trying to say is that, like, in my case, all I'm trying to say is, um, I'm sorry that you had to go through that experience by those murderous bastards and those liars and those con men and women who kind of like told you one thing when you brought them along, and then when you're already there, they told, oh no, you kind of like when they were pushing their agenda. My main point is that
Yeah, they got orders. And they followed them.
kind of like the Nazis and anyone else stupid enough not to see the difference between right and wrong, legal to illegal, etc. My main point is that nowadays, again, I'm not going to say it's the entire school or a large group of people, but there's a significant number of people who didn't and I'm not even talking about political affiliation or who you supporting, endorsing domestically, globally, etc. I'm talking about people when I told them specifically, do not get your job. Don't even get those PCR bullshit tests on the rapid fluid test and all that. None of that, because all it's going to do is just gonna contaminate your body, make you even more sicker than you are. Or if you're
Yeah, I
healthy, then it's going
understand
to
that,
make you.
Jose. Well, let me ask you a question. How many times can somebody lie to you? Okay? How many times can somebody lie to you before you decide you want nothing to do with those people, that you consider them liars, untrustworthy, dangerous, just bad people? How
Well, I
many
would
times?
say
One
wi-
time, two times, three times?
without splitting hairs, it's depending on the nature of the relationship. But let's say if it's someone I don't really know, once is enough. Once in a if it's someone that I have long-standing relationship, like let's say my wife. I mean, it's part of a intimate romantic relationship. So yeah, I have endured more than one, two, three, four lies. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, that's unfortunate, but yeah,
See,
yeah.
I don't know. I just, um, I know it happens. And a lot of times we don't even know that somebody's lying to us,
Well, I
right?
knew whether if I confront, I knew, and I still know whether if I confronted her about it or not, and whether if I got the right answers for the right questions. That's a different
Well,
issue.
my point is I don't know how I don't know how the United States is allowed to get away with these lies when they're proven time after time. They lie, they lie, they lie, they lie. They make a deal, they break it, then they lie. I mean, there's so many proofs of this. Why would you ever believe anything? And then if you're watching the news, why would you believe anything from these clowns?
Information warfare, and they're going to spin this, and some people will justify that it was how do they call it, the those efforts from the compartmentalized secret uh divisions in the three-letter agencies, that
Yeah,
all 80 something of them, how do they call it, uh
I don't know what you're
more
trying to say.
no, morally unjustified but absolutely necessary. If you
I think no, I think it's disgusting, and I think it's time we go back to a country that actually
the no,
stands for
no,
follows what it believes in.
I share the same hopes, but I'm sorry to tell you,
Oh, it's not going to happen.
David, David, it's a pipe dream. If you're thinking you're getting 2019 or 2010 or even 2005, if you think you're getting pre
Listen, I
pre
mean, we have too many examples. Listen, Julian Assange is the one that I go to. I mean, Donald Trump had a chance to pardon him. He
he
didn't
didn't.
pardon him. He prosecuted him.
That's just one example of many that Trump was also
And then
compromised.
and then and then yeah, I'm no great hero, but I was going out, wasting. I mean, in essence, it was a waste of my life going out to these things, standing on corners, carrying signs, talking to people, and
There
people
you
were
have.
like, yeah, good, he's in jail. I mean, it's where he should belong. I'm like, really? Why do you say that? And of course, they'll say, well, he's giving away state secrets. He's getting people killed, and they're ignorant.
What a fuck. You always had, and you always will have useful idiots up and down the streets.
Yeah. Well, listen, let's go back to Aaron Russo. And if
Sure.
there's anything that you want to comment, just the audio is going to be on. Just say stop here and I'll pause it and we'll continue. Because I want to hear him talk about the Fed. And I also want to include him talking about the women's going back to work.
Sure.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're already on 2 hours now. And I I don't want to go too much longer because my voice is, I'm getting tired. I can feel it.
Sure. From your end, from my end, like since I hopped in, it's 1 hour 43 minutes and some seconds. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay, here we go. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right,
It's just
here we go.
Federal Reserve System, the government has become vested in these bankers, and they get their money from the bankers. And so then they impose a tax on us, which makes us more slaves, make it more difficult for us to survive, right? Giving them more profits. And now what's happened is that through the Federal Reserve System, the bankers have pretty much taken control of our government. It doesn't matter Republican and Democrat anymore because they're both the same. Neither one of them are talking about shutting down the Federal Reserve System or stopping the payment of taxes, or any of the big issues that face Americans, right? So I had a friend, Nick Rockefeller, okay, who's one of the Rockefeller family. And he, when I was running for governor in Nevada, he came to me, introduced himself to me through an attorney, and we became friends. We started talking about things. And I learned an awful lot from Mr. Rockefeller. And one of the things that we used to talk about was the ultimate plan of the banking industry, what they wanted to accomplish. And the goals of the banking industry, not just the Federal Reserve System, but the private banks in Germany and England, all over Italy, all over the world, they all work together. They're all central banks, and they're all part of the Communist Manifesto. Central banking is one of the major planks of the Communist Manifesto. We talk about America being a capitalistic country, but yet at the same time, we have a central bank that plans everything for us, right? And the graduated income tax is another plank of the Communist Manifesto, right? So right there, you have two major planks of the Communist Manifesto that have been brought in because of the Federal Reserve System, okay? So the ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, and they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it. Now they're trying to do it in America with the North American Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is getting me straight from Rockefeller himself.
Just pause it for
all money will be in your chips.
1
And
second. If you can hear me.
so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip, and you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do, what
Everything,
you sell.
everything is in there, And so they want a one world government controlled by everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips and they control people. And you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intentions.
Eric, can you be specific about when you met Rockefeller, how it happened in these discussions?
I met Rockefeller through a female attorney I knew who called me up one day and said, one of the Rockefellers would like to meet you. I made a video called Mad as Hell, and he'd seen the video and wanted to meet me and knew I was running for governor of Nevada. So sure, I'd love to meet him. And I met him and I liked him. And he was a very, very smart man. And we used to talk and share ideas and thoughts. And he's the one who told me 11 months before 9/11 ever happened that there was going to be an event. Never told me what the event was going to be, but there was going to be an event. And out of that event, we were going to invade Afghanistan to run pipelines from the Caspian Sea. We were going to invade Iraq, to take over the oil fields, establish a base in the Middle East, and make it all part of the New World Order. And we go after Chavez in Venezuela.
Spread democracy.
Later, 9/11 happened. And I remember he was telling me how
Yeah, I just wanted to say in relation to to that last section that he said. First, do you recall what was it, a decade and change back, when in the Nordic area of Europe, I think it was Sweden, when they celebrated the chipping of the first baby. That's how stupid people are. That's exactly what he's talking about. And he was talking about it like a few years that it actually took place, and not just about 9/11. He's talking about other things. I can't hear you. I can't hear you, David. I can't hear you.
Okay, yeah, I mute myself so that you know, in case I cough or something. I,
Oh,
I was going to say, I had somebody say the other day, hey, you use a credit card. I'm going to use the chip in my hand. What's the difference? Right?
oh,
Big
of
difference.
course, of
Big
course.
difference.
Okay, and it's supposed like the debit or credit card is supposed to those smart watches when when you put your details in. It's just a homing device to for them to listen, watch, track every movement you do. You think it's just financial? Look, let these morons do
Well, he's going
theirs
to talk about this. He's going to talk about why using cash is important.
and other hard assets. But yeah, go on.
Okay.
You're gonna see soldiers looking in caves for people in Afghanistan and Pakistan and all these places, and there's gonna be this war on terror, which is no real enemy, and the whole thing is a giant hoax, but it's a way for the government to take over the American people.
He told you it was going to be a hoax.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, there's no question. He says there's gonna be war on terror, and he's laughing.
The reason I paused is because I just wanted to say, this is what you said is he died just a few weeks after this. Well, this could be why. I mean, if there really are powers that be, like there are, but people don't believe it, well, these type of people, when you come out and share the secrets like this, they're not going to allow you to continue to do this.
You watch also further deep into I think to the the second half, but basically 2/3 timeline into the interview, he's going to say that something that I think didn't happen their way or something that occurred or wasn't that successful. It basically was a concern to them, to the Rockefellers, and but it wasn't their concern. They weren't in charge of that satanic division, if it makes sense. Someone from another family or another group was in charge of that section in that part of the world, if I remember correctly. Because I watched this interview several times, but because it's over an hour long, it's hard to remember everything
Mhm.
that was said and done. It's kind of like remember word for word, two
Yeah,
hours
that's why
movies.
I figured just let him tell us instead of us
Sure,
trying to say it.
go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead. I
very
mean,
good.
There's no who are we fighting? I mean, why do you think 9/11 happened, and then nothing's happened since then? Do you think that our security is so great here that these people who pulled off 9/11 who were able to can't knock down another plane? Come on, it's ridiculous. 9/11 was done by people in our own government and our own banking system to perpetuate the fear of the American people and to subordinating themselves to anything the government wants them to do. That's what it's about, and to create this endless war on terror. And that's why and that was the first lie. And the next lie was going into Iraq, to get Saddam Hussein out with his weapons of mass destruction. That was the next lie.
Now, specifically, this was a little over 6 years ago.
This was
11 months before 9/11.
Yeah.
And Nick Rockefeller, he's a lawyer. He's become your friend over the previous years, and he's saying to you that there's going to be this big event, and then out of that we're going to have a war on terror, and it's just going to go on and on.
Right.
I paused it because I thought he referenced a date. See, he just said 6 years ago, right before 9/11. So this would have been,
no, he said six. So basically,
okay, so this would have been
6 years ago,
2007.
11 months before 9/11. So if 9/11, 2001,
So that
yeah,
would have
okay,
been, right, that would have been, what did he say, 11 months before? So that would have been October of 2000.
roughly.
So 6 years. So that would have been October 2006. And Aaron Russo died in August 2007.
Okay.
So a year
So
later, basically. Yeah.
so a year later. Either way, I
Right.
highly question the motives of. And by the way, notice what he said. Notice what he said that like
Yeah. Not another
about
9/11. Yeah.
no. Just
Our
a quick
Homeland
side.
Security is so great, they've never caught, there's not been one apprehension in Homeland Security or the TSA that's prevented anything.
Homeland Security and their internal cybersecurity agency, CISA, yeah, they were created to monitor and spy after you, not the big bad terrorists that come that doesn't
Yeah.
even have a bank account or anything like that.
Yeah, and the NSA lied about this under oath. They said, no, we don't spy on our own citizens, and it was
Of
proven.
course, of
It was
course. This is
proven
why,
like a month later that they actually do.
yeah, this is why Edward Snowden did what he did, and this is why Julian
This is what I'm
Assange did
saying.
what he
How
did.
many times are we going to let these people lie to us? There needs to be penalties. Basically, they need to have the entire. It's like what I said, the story in the past about my trees. And it's also, I'm writing a book, and in it, I use the example of if you mix red dye in with milk, you can't separate it. You got to get rid of it all, or you can't differentiate it. And it's the same thing. The FBI, the NSA, the CIA, they all have to go. All the people there, they have to go. Oh, that's too scary. It's too dangerous. We'll be vulnerable. Hey, man.
No, no, you know what the funny thing is that like the war. I forgot where I heard this quote, but I'm trying to live by it in a very in a very kind of like not 100%, but I'm trying to implement it in my the war on terror is the actual terror for starters, because it's terrorizing your own population, your own populace, and it's sending the wrong message to the other side. We're looking at your end, so give us the smallest excuse to invade your country, and let's spread democracy. Yay, democracy. Yeah, basically, it's a hollow shell of a word that means nothing, just like racism or what else is there? Democracy, social just it's just a word salad. That's all it is.
Yeah, well,
I'm not.
that's what he explained at the very start of the video is the difference between democracy and a republic.
Oh,
So,
for that matter, uh, kingdomship. That this a kingdom will be
yeah,
better
well,
off.
he gets into that with about an oligarchy. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and serfdom.
yeah,
Okay, all right, I'll continue here.
sure.
Endless one without any real enemy. That you can never, so you can never define a winner.
And did he say that it's going to be perfect because you can't define an enemy just goes
Yeah,
on?
because you can't define a winner. There's no one to beat, so it goes on and on forever. And they can do whatever they want. They scare the hell out.
And I hate to keep interrupting, but
No,
there's a famous video of Julian Assange saying exactly that before he was taken away. They don't care about winning in Afghanistan. They just want it to go on forever so that they can launder money.
and on the way, ducks down people.
Yep. Yep. And of course, there's the poppy fields as well.
Of the American public. Look, this whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. It's very difficult to say it out loud because people are intimidated against saying it. Because if you say it, they want to make you into a nutcase. But the truth has to come out. That's why I'm doing this interview. The fact of the matter happens to be that the whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. There's a war going on in Iraq because we invaded Iraq. And people over there fighting.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep doing this, but I have to say, this guy is a multi-millionaire. He has made movies that all of us have seen or know of. And he's risking his life and his career and his business to do this. This should carry some weight. He's not some mental case. Anything
Yeah.
before I go back?
No, you know what? It just sickens that like most people that actually will reject this idea are the people who are, and I can't believe that I say it with a straight face, are well read, well educated, went to the university, got a nothing burger degree, bachelor's, master's, PhD, all this garbage, and these are the masses that actually reject the idea of, you know what? It's
It's
just like
because they're living in the old paradigm, Elishay. The old
no,
paradigm worked.
not just. It's
Yes,
not just. Forget
yes,
forget
because
about.
it comes to trust. It comes to
But
trust. If
but
you did
forget it.
not trust in these people who are telling you these things, you wouldn't believe it.
But forget about old versus new. What I'm trying to tell you is that like, whether if it's an old timer that based on the old system, or
The system has worked for me. I've made millions of dollars. They're like this guy, only they choose to stay in the matrix with the blue pill.
Yeah, okay, because they're in their comfort zone. What I'm trying to say is that, like, if you don't have the brain capacity, it's just kind of like a lot of people
It's
before
not
me.
brain capacity. You can't
No,
call these people stupid, Elishay. They're not stupid people.
well,
They
I think
might
in,
be,
in
they
some
might
cases
be,
they
they
are.
might be, they might be intellectually lazy because
David, I
their
think
routine has worked.
David, I think in some
Most people are
cases,
in a routine. That's it.
but that's what I'm trying to tell you. I think in some cases those people are stupid, and
They're not stupid. They're
again,
ignorant. They're ignorant.
okay, so you call it what you will. I think in some cases, again, not all of
Well,
it.
well,
I think in
stupid
some
is a
cases,
derogatory. It's a derogatory term, and you're never going to win people over by calling them stupid. But
I'm not.
ignorant.
I'm not. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not trying to win them over. Not anymore.
Okay, right.
Back in yesteryears, I used to like feel like, okay, listen, you gotta think outside the box. You gotta open your mind and everything. But again, if you don't have the brain capacity to even examine a theory, conspiracy or not, okay,
What is their motivation? Why would they even bother doing that when they're at the pinnacle of success and happiness and everything's going great? Why
because
would they?
eventually,
Why would they think they need to do that?
because eventually will backfire at them like a boomerang and hurt them and their loved ones. So
Why
they
would
got
they believe
insensitive.
that? Why would they believe that? When has it ever happened?
What, sorry, tell me something. Why wouldn't you even bother to check if it's true
Because
or
all
not?
my
And
time and
then you
energy
tell
is
me
going
if you
into
believe it or not.
because going to my son's baseball game is more important than watching Alex Jones.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine. And what happens when Alex Jones nailed it and your son's baseball match or whatever, uh, or football match or whatever got exploded with a state-funded inside job, one of many all throughout history, just like the Boston bombing and this and that, the 9/11, 7/7, all
Yeah,
that
and
garbage.
there's also proof.
Hmm.
It's called Operation Gladio. Look it up,
Yeah,
people. This is
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Our governments plotted to kill their own citizens so that you would become scared of communism.
Thank you very much. I
Was
that's
anybody punished? No,
listen. That's the all of the argument I need. Like I didn't want to bring this up
right?
so you won't
Well,
say
I
I
mean, we
digress
have
and extend the
Vietnam War for Christ's sakes. Excuse me. Let me take that
no.
back. We have the Vietnam War for crying out loud. And then just 20 years later, we have Afghanistan, which went longer than Vietnam. How
Okay,
stupid do we have to be, to use your word? Pretty stupid.
exactly. And that was back then. Look at nowadays. In the last, what is it? Uh,
Afghanistan was just ended last year, thanks to Biden. Great
uh,
man.
oh, right, yeah. And how many people did he leave behind, and how much high military grade worth of equipment? Like
All right,
what was it?
We have
90,
Ukraine. We have
95,
Ukraine now.
100 billion?
We have Ukraine now and Israel, so we have our spending.
I got a good, reliable source that told me that the vast majority of the weapons that were left behind, I'm talking about helicopters, APCs, tanks, you just name it, all the way from the smallest
Yeah,
caliber bullets
yeah.
of a sidearm, all the way to the largest caliber of like a fucking grenade launcher or 762 of a mag, or
Yeah, they're either being sold on the black market or they're in the enemy's hands.
no. They. Some of them are in Ukraine, but most of them are redirected from Ukraine to the black market, mainly in the
Oh, that's the
southeast.
money that, yeah.
Yeah, that's the money they're laundering. But who do you think, in the hands of who do you think it ends up in? And then it's been used on us to perpetuate the notion that there is a big bad terrorist out there to get us, and there's a next war on, and to perpetuate war because war is profitable. There's nothing. Yeah, let me rephrase that. There is nothing that creates uh, what was the state back in the day, in the Clintons days. There's nothing that create more profits than peace. No, actually, it's the other way around. There's nothing more that create peace more than profits. I
That's
mean, like,
George Bush. George Bush said that. I have it in a
mm,
video. I have it
Fair
in the
enough.
video. He
Fair
said
enough.
basically commercial interests are very powerful interests. And it's sometimes these commercial interests are more important than peace.
Yeah. So either way, like in that particular case,
And of
what
course, nobody in the mainstream news actually ran with that story. You
yeah,
remember
but
have you ever heard of the Dixie Chicks?
sounds familiar. Where is that from?
They're a musical group, three sisters, I believe, from Texas.
Yes, 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 yes,
And
yes. Now I remember.
they were the vanguard. They were the tip of the spear of the anti and there was a woman of one of the soldiers who died who bought a place next to George Bush's house and she would camp out. These people were devoted their lives to saying George Bush was a liar and the whole war was a scam. And all these people were destroyed. The Dixie Chicks' careers were gone. I think they've come back since a little bit, but they were like at the pinnacle of their career. They were at the peak, and they were destroyed because all
Bro,
yeah.
listen, if I had the chance to, whether if it's back then and even now, when I knew less, and nowadays I know a hell of a lot more. If I had to, like, just not even a coin form or in a bill form. If I had just one kind of like shredded, not shredded, but like like rubbed off $1 to just kind of like fold it up and like toss it at that little daddy's boy, George Bush, and like a dance monkey, dance for your dollar. Like that's what I would have done. Like, because basically, even he wasn't in charge in his term.
No,
Even
well,
though,
anybody who's been president since I've been alive, I mean, the we don't need to go there. Okay, anything else you want to say before I go back to the video?
no, not really. I said it all.
Okay.
The truth has to come out. That's why I'm doing this interview. The fact of the matter happens to be that the whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. Yeah, there's a war going on in Iraq because we invaded Iraq. And people over there fighting, But the war on terror, it's a joke, And until we discover what really happened on 9/11 and who was responsible for 9/11,
Boom.
that's where the war on terror emanates from. That's where it comes from. It was 9/11 that allowed this war on terror to begin. And until we get to the bottom root of 9/11, the truth of 9/11, we'll never know about the war on terror.
Aaron, you said that he was, and I think it's important, and I know this about the Rockefellers from Dr. Dennis Cuddy and many others who literally, you'll be 20 years old in a lunch line at college, and was a Rockefeller. And they're experts at recruiting and getting what they call players. And that clearly I want to make it specific and just get you to reiterate what you said last night about you got 30% of the vote. You were having an effect. You made mad as hell. They knew that you'd started the Constitution Party. Yeah. They knew that you were somebody who was taking action and getting things done. You already made some big films, had a lot of other successes.
Right.
So they were trying to recruit you. And didn't it come down to the point of, hey, we are here to recruit you, and don't worry, your chip's going to say, don't mess with us. This guy's don't touch.
Yeah, yes, that did happen. I was definitely being recruited, but it's more subtle than that.
Well, in your words, just go through the process, and then we said.
Well, what it is remember we were friends, and we used to come to my house a lot. We'd have dinner, we'd talk, and he'd tell me about business investments I get involved in, or they would help me with this business investment or that business investment. And was I interested in joining the Council on Foreign Relations? I would have to get a letter to join them, but was I interested in that? And just stuff, leading you on. And I used to say to him that I never really did that because that wasn't where I was coming from. As much as I like you, Nick, your ways and my ways were the opposite.
Do you need me to pause?
No, not really. I was just.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you need me to pause, just say, hey, pause here. I thought your finger was saying to pause. All right.
No, I wasn't trying to sing or something.
I
I
don't
would say
believe in
something.
enslaving people. Your ways and my ways were on the opposite side of the fence. I don't believe in enslaving people. And
he would come back with, "Oh, I do."
Well, it'd be more like
it's better for them.
It's more like how do I put it? It was like, what do you care about them? What do you care about those people? What difference does it make to you? Take care of your own life. Do the best you can for you and your family.
There we go.
What do the rest of the people mean to you? They don't mean anything to you. They're just serfs. They're just people. It was just a lack of caring. And that's just not who I was. It was just sort of like cold,
And
it was
that's
just
why
like
people
cold,
rely on government today.
and
No
I
community.
just said, what's the point of all this? You have all the money in the world you need, you have all the power you need. What's the point? What's the end goal? And he said the end goal is to get everybody chipped, to control the whole society,
Control.
to have the
Population
bankers,
control.
the elite people, the bankers and some governor controlling the world. And I said, do
You
all the
wanna-
people in the Council on Foreign Relations believe this way? You do? No, no, no. Most of them believe they're doing the right thing. A lot of them believe it's better off being socialistic. We have to convince people that socialism is really capitalism. Because America's becoming a socialist
course.
country. It's a communist country today. Well, one of the things they told me was that we was at the house one night, and we were talking, and he started laughing. He said, "Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about?" And I said, I had pretty conventional thinking about it at that.
Yep. I think the audio is lost, David. No, you're on mute. You're on mute. I think you're on mute. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and for a second there, also the video itself was the last few seconds, 10 to 15 seconds, was gone. Let me tell you something. You see that this is the end goal of the. Now you tell me something. If I go, and I'm pretty sure if those people are very again well read, well educated, or at least they claim they are. Tell me something. If I go to them, if I download this video or get a copy of it, like full on, full HD, the best quality, even a copy of the original, yeah, and along with some other stuff that Alex Jones came up with, predictions, forecasts of the future, and some of the films and movies, the documentaries that Aaron Russo, may God rest his soul in heaven. Um, um, if I go with that to those people, even with a hardcore evidence, and then like, okay, you watch this now about, let's say, 15 years after this guy, actually more than 15 years, but let's say 15 years from that interview, these two guys warned you.
He's been dead 17 years this year.
Yeah, fine, fine. I'm just saying, like, and look at the timeline of everything that happened. Look at all the archives of the articles.
It
Look at
happened just
all
like he said it would.
but that's my point. Alex Jones covered several parts. Aaron Russo confirmed them and add his own experience. Now, let me ask you this. Go to those people that you claim are not stupid, show them this, remind them what they just been through. At least, you know what? You don't even have to go for the last
It's the
15,
it's the it's
17 years.
why I explained the thing about the doctors, because I know a few doctors, and the doctors
But you notice what you
refuse to
just said?
believe it unless it comes from only a couple sources. If it
But,
comes outside those sources, they will not believe it.
but Dave, you notice what you just said? You just said, I, I know a few doctors. I get it. So am I. But you see,
But what I'm saying is, when I say I've known a few doctors, those doctors have said the same thing to me, where they will not believe something if it's not coming from a couple sources. Otherwise,
how about the following? How about the following statement? Just tell
so
me.
those people you're calling stupid, they won't believe it because Anthony Fauci was hired by Trump. That's who we believe. Nancy
No,
Pelosi is who we believe.
no. Anthony Fauci was accepted by Trump. He was endorsed and shoved pushed into the room by others.
It doesn't,
That's a
but
totally different.
it doesn't matter. It's the face that the government put on this fucking thing.
Exactly. My main point. You looking at the doctors. Okay, they won't believe a thesis or a doctrine or a treatment or cure method. Not that they ever cure anything, in spite of their hypocritic oath. And then, like, what about the other side of the doctors? Then there's many, just like you and I. They're people. They have their own individual personality, regardless of their fucking profession. And yeah, nowadays more than ever, doctors and presidents are not the brightest stars in the skies, and they're not. Either way, my main point is, how about the doctors? They do know, they should know better, and they do know better. Yet, because of the payouts and the kickbacks and the royalty checks that they're getting, they do know that what they're doing is wrong. They do know that the
No, they
administration,
don't care. They don't care because they're getting paid.
and that's the vast majority of the doctors today, either completely ignorant and
Let me tell you some stories. I used to have a personal physician, and I
yeah,
got rid of him the day after my mother died. He tried to put me on some psychotic drug for depression.
yeah. Instead
And
of like
I said,
giving,
I have a couple questions for you, Doc. Number one, how much are you getting as a kickback for this drug?
yeah,
What? What? I'm not getting a kickback. I said, now that's a lie. They all get kickbacks. Well, maybe not all, but because I dated a girl who worked for Glaxo Wellcome, and she would tell me the stories of all the stuff she did to get her drugs sold by these doctors. And it was almost all about money, trips, perks, you know, uh, vacation. I mean, you name it.
yeah,
And yeah, but listen, we don't need to. I only use that as an example from the standpoint that the information has been out there. I mean, Smedley Butler wrote his book 100 years ago.
yeah.
Eisenhower gave his speech 60,
War,
65 years ago, but
Smedley
nobody
Butler.
remembers this.
War is a racket. No, why? Why?
Aaron
If you,
Russo's been dead for 17 years.
bro, it was even before I was conceived, or probably before even my parents were born. And you're telling me that like nobody remembers? Like Smedley Butler, War is a Racket, right?
Yep,
That's the
yep,
book you refer to?
yep.
The famous Eisenhower
And he
speech
was
and the
murdered.
following book.
Smedley Butler was murdered. They shut him up.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. And nowadays, what, over 100 years plus after, and we still we dig into those kind of things, and then some, and more people, more authors and researchers, genuine researchers, not woke retard devoid from all reality, uh, researchers, self-proclaimed researchers would uh, yeah, I teach my students through chat gpt. It's a kind of like an semi AI platform, and they're actually proud of it. You dumbing down another generation, and you're calling yourself a researcher or a lecturer or a doctor or professor in some sort of a nameless university or Ivy League university. You
Yeah, well,
you're
yeah. I
just
mean, you
another
look.
self. You're not. You're just another TT boy from the porn industry. Although it's not exactly porn. It's like more like a tofu tits boy who convinced himself he's some almighty, and you're doing nothing by dumbing down and contributing to the status quo
Of
to
course. I
remain as it
mean,
is.
of course. I mean, they could write in Aaron Russo's biography. Aaron Russo was a terrorist,
Yeah.
and he was executed. And guess what? In 5 years, he's going to be remembered as a terrorist.
Yeah, yeah. Look at that profile. Look at that profile. It doesn't remind you of like Pablo Escobar or Che Guevara or Pinochet or Noriega, or one of those socialist murderers. Of course, of course. This is why I told you in the beginning of the conversation before we even
And
got
all they're
back.
going to do is change a couple sources today online. I was just talking about this in a video the other day. Is
Yes,
you
yes.
go on to look for information like I was looking like okay, let's look up the fifth president of Ecuador, right? Whoever knows who he is, they can put anything they want.
They can put a monkey and call it for the.
And am I going to know the difference? So
This is why. Sorry. This is why. Sorry for the interruption. This is why.
what is it? Yeah, I can't. Your screen's too small.
Sorry about that. Let's see if in the light you can see it
Just
better.
read off what it says. I can't see it. Read off what it says, please.
1984 special original. Well, not
Okay,
really original, but 1984 by George Orwell. Very
can't hear
familiar
you.
with. Okay, 1984. Can you hear me now?
Yep,
1984 by George Orwell,
yep.
and another great kind of like clairvoyant thing.
And
Instantly.
and people hear it, and people are like, yeah, this is just like there's a meme. There's a meme that I've posted online, and it's a picture. It's a cartoon of George Orwell reading like today's news, and his face is he couldn't believe it.
Look. Just with adjusted to inflation. Look at the prices in.
Not going to be able to see it. You're going to have to read it.
Fine. No. I'm just the price. You're probably going to be able to look at dollar terms and pound terms. Look at the price.
Too
Nine.
small.
Too small.
I can't see it. No, and I'm not going to listen. I'm having computer problems. I'm not going to try to go to a full screen where you
Okay.
can see it, and then I won't be able to get this video back.
Either way, what I'm trying to say is like 9.99 US or Canadian dollars, whichever you choose, and 6.99 in UK.
Can't hear
British
you.
pounds. I'm saying 9.99 US dollars or Canadian dollars, and 6.99 in British pound, Great British pounds. Basically,
Nobody cares about British pounds or Canadian dollars.
you're missing. Yeah, fine. You're missing the point. You're missing the point. You're
And
missing the
soon
point.
they won't care about US dollars.
Fair enough. They won't care about any fiat currency. They're just going to care about, even though the US dollar is going to be the last one to go, but because of its
Yeah,
reserve
anyways,
status.
what's the point before we go back to the video?
The price, listen carefully, the price of super sugary caramelized sugar that people inject to their body and making themselves sick instead of burning fat, they're burning sugar.
Right, high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah. So for the price of a shitty cup of coffee that's super industrialized and injected with God knows how many GMOs, you can educate yourself and buy some of these books. This is why these are important, not the online.
You can read
Uh,
them online for free.
no. But that's that you just said. I can type in 5 or 10 years from now about a
Oh yeah,
certain book or about a certain someone, and I won't get the right or the original or the
yeah.
closest thing to the original information. This is why these physical hard copies, yeah, are so goddamn important. And this is why I'm trying to educate my children, absorb their knowledge.
When you turn your head, you go to zero volume.
I don't know why. I don't know what the hell is wrong with that wire stuff, but either way, I don't want the radiation
Now
of the
we're going down. Listen, we've only got a half an hour left, so let's try to get as much into the video as we can.
crack on, man.
Because this next section is the section that I think is going to blow a lot of people's minds
Yeah,
because
hopefully.
because I remember talking to some friends about 5 years ago. The wife, I forget what they did now, but basically the wife worked full time. They put their kids in daycare,
Hmm.
and after her working full time and the kids being sent away, they netted an additional, I think, $12,000. And I said to them, I said, is it worth? Well, I mean, why do you have kids? So, anyways, yeah. All right, here we
Good.
go.
I'm here. Lift the volume of the movie. You can't hear it on my end.
You can't hear this?
No, I was able to until a certain point, but now I can't hear the movie on my end for some sort of reason.
Oh, what the fuck? This is, hold on.
All right.
All right, I'm going to play this.
Can always back to the same point. Go back to the same point, same minute and second of the movie.
I'm
Yeah.
going to reboot. No, I'm gonna basically, it's working on my end. Why it's not working on your end, I don't know. I'm gonna
No,
present it.
so far I was able to hear him every word of yours and the movie, but at one point or another, it just went silent.
Here, I'm gonna start it now. You tell me if you can hear it.
And
Alright.
social
Can
capitalism.
you hear this?
Because America's becoming a socialist country. It's a communist country today. Well, one of the things they told me
Are you hearing him?
Yes, I am. I can. Go on.
that we was at the house one night and we were talking and he started laughing. He said, Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about? And I said, I'm pretty conventional thinking about it at that point. I said,
Now,
I think
this
that
is the
women have
part
the right
right here.
to work, getting equal pay with men, just like they won the right to vote, you know? And he started to laugh. He said, you're an idiot. And I said, why am I an idiot?
Yeah,
I
let
said,
me
"Well,
read.
let me tell you what that was about. We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib, you know?
Yeah, let me, I was talking, so I apologize. Let me, and I read about this whole campaign where they hired this guy. This is how, this type of marketing started from this event here.
Exactly.
House one night and we were talking and he started laughing. He said, Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about? And I said, I'm pretty conventional thinking about it at that point. I said, I think it's about women having the right to work, getting equal pay with men, just like they won the right to vote, you know? And he said, you're an idiot. And I said, why am I an idiot? He said, let me tell you what that was about. We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib, you know?
Of course.
And we're the ones who got all over newspapers and television, the Rockefeller Foundation. He says, and you want to know why? He said, there were two primary reasons. And one reason was we couldn't tax half the population before women's lib. And the second reason was now we get the kids in school at an early age. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think, which breaks up the family. The kids start looking at the state as the family, as the school, as the officials, as their family, not as the parents teaching them. And so those are the two primary reasons for women's lib, which I thought up to that point was a noble thing. You know, when I saw their intentions behind it, where they were coming from when they created it, the thought of it, I saw the evil behind what I thought was a noble adventure.
Aaron, did you know that Gloria Steinem, in one of her own books, now admits the CIA funded Ms. Magazine?
No, I had no idea about that. No, I never heard that.
Yeah, we're going to
CIA funded Ms. Magazine?
funded Ms. Magazine with the stated goal of taxing women and breaking up the family.
No kidding. I never heard that. Well, Nick told me. I mean, I know it, but not because I know the CIA was involved in it.
Well, Gloria Steinem was proud of it. Oh, the CIA wanted to help women.
No kidding.
So they funded it. Yeah, and of course it's divide and conquer.
Right,
and what they do is they focus in obviously on real problems. Women were getting shafted in many ways, but the elite wasn't planning to help them. They were planning to really shaft them and take men away from them. Look at what they did with black families. You only had about 10% illegitimacy 50 years ago in black communities, and now it's over 90%. And look at welfare. You were going to give you some money. You can't have a man in the house.
Right.
And so it's further to degrade the family,
Yeah.
totally destroyed. And now illegitimacy is over 50% in the general population.
Right. Well, see, the whole
Dirty
thing is
business.
these people control the money.
Dirty
They make all the
business.
rules. You understand? And they put whatever rules they want into effect. And the truth is, America has really become a socialist, communistic country. And everybody says it's a capitalistic country. It's not a capitalistic country. You know, how could it be capitalistic when you have a central bank? That's the first. It can't be. You know,
It's a planned economy.
It's a planned economy. It's a phony. If they want to create prosperity, they just print dollars. They just make dollars or put digits into the economy, and then now you have prosperity. You don't have real prosperity. You don't have real manufacturing. You just have money being injected in. It's an infusion of credit,
Which only makes the government go into more debt.
into more debt. My friendship with Nick Rockefeller was one where we expressed ideas to each other and thoughts and philosophies.
So, have we gone into debt?
We didn't just got into debt. We got into a hyper bubble of a debt, the biggest in the history of mankind that
It's
will
a
never be
rhetorical
repaid.
question. No.
Yeah, no.
And
No, I'm
this
saying,
was 17 years ago. Actually,
are
this
you-
was 18 years ago.
you
This video.
you watch those money markets more than I do because you're trading in that sphere. And then where do you go with the
All I'm
process?
saying is, listen,
It's your problem.
it's a checklist. Listen to everything the man says and ask yourself, did that happen? Does that make sense? Or are you going to believe your government? Right?
Yeah, but
I
that's
just
not.
want to emphasize this. The Federal Reserve is the #1 enemy to the citizens of the United States and to the world. Is it any surprise that I believe that North Korea, I think, is the only country now that doesn't have a central bank? Is it any surprise why they're the huge enemy?
You said it. I'm just my silence confirms it. That's
Yeah,
all.
no, I think, yeah, unless people read The Tree of Liberty by Thomas Jefferson, just that short little blurb, that's where it's got to go. There must be blood at this point because the bankers are not going to willingly give this up.
Oh,
He explains this. He explains it right now.
100%. But like, don't.
We expressed ideas to each other and thoughts and philosophies, and he wanted me to become part of what they were doing, and for me to become a member of the CFR, and offered various business opportunities for me to get involved in, and for me to not take up the fight or the battle that I've been taking up in the past. To drop that idea, because what was the point of my fighting for the people? I was a guy who was very successful in the movie business, and I saw the truth of what was happening. I tried to express it to the people, and rather than having me express it to the people, they wanted me to join their side because I was a mover and a shaker, and rather than me opposing them, to join them. It was real simple, and he tried to recruit me into that situation, and I didn't go for it.
Did he get angry when you didn't go for it?
No. And it's like, I remember one time he said to me, "You join us, so you have an ID card, Aaron. You have a chip, and your chip will say KMA on it." And I said, "What does KMA mean?" He said, "It means kiss my ass." And anybody stops you, a cop, whatever, and you show them your card or your chip, and they'll not leave you alone because you're one of us. And why are you fighting for the people for? What is that about? The people are just, they have to be ruled. They have to be, the Constitution, what you're standing for is only for a few people. It's only a few individuals that can live that way, and we believe that special society to be ruled by an elite people who control everything. And I said, I don't believe that. I believe God put me on this earth to be the best person I could be, and put everybody on this earth to be the best they can be, not to be a slave and a sheep to you and these people. And I don't understand why you want to control everything. What is the need for that? And I asked them, do all the people in the Council of Foreign Relations feel the same way you feel? He said, no, a lot of them think they're doing the right thing. They think that socialism is the best way to go. They think that, that they're doing the right thing. But the people at the top, they all know the truth of what's happening. And that's what it is.
So it's compartmentalized within the elite structure as well.
Of course it is. I mean, all the people that are in the CFR, was that 2,000-3,000 people have to go to, like Dan Rather. They don't know what's going on. They join the CFR because it's prestigious. They think it's good for business. It's good for this. They don't know what's really happening. The evil that comes out of it, that's emanating out of it. And to me, the biggest evil is what's happening right now, because what happened on 9/11 is a phony. And we've never learned the truth about 9/11.
That's the question I wanted to follow up on. He tells you 11 months before there's going to be an event, all this is going to happen. What did you think on the morning of 9/11? Where were you, and did you think about Nick Rockefeller and what he had told you when you saw those towers fall?
No, I was actually in Tahiti when 9/11 happened, and I got a call from my son. And my son said the Twin Towers, they were just attacked, and they were falling down or something. So I was in Tahiti. I was asleep. And says, yeah, they were hit by a plane, And so where I lived, where I was in Tahiti, there was no television. So I had to run around the other side of the island to a hotel where they had, and it was all on television, and that's when I first saw the stuff on TV about it. And I didn't immediately equate it to Nick, but when I realized that we were going to go into Afghanistan, Iraq, and as I developed, I realized what it was. I mean, to me, I see people like Bill O'Reilly on television, right? And I see how much they control the media. Like there's this girl on Bill O'Reilly the other night from an organization saying the world can't wait. And this girl was spot on. Everything she was saying was the truth. And all Bill O'Reilly could do was call her a lunatic. He couldn't challenge the facts. They just call people names. They can't. And until we just find that, look, this world, we're heading into a world of danger, possible nuclear wars, because the banking industry is trying to take over the world.
No.
And this is why I said don't call people stupid necessarily, because it's just another ad hominem attack, which is what he refers to.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But like, you know what? I'm gonna come from the other angle and tell you, like, they just call people name and labeling them as a nut job. David, all throughout this period of time, they be labeling people like you, me, Jim Willie, Bill Holter, Francis Hunt, Lynette Zhang, Gregory Manarino. The works. Go through the list. Like there's many experts in different fields.
Can't hear
Nobody
you.
gets 100% of everything. Listen to this. They've been calling us. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me better
Yeah.
now? Okay. Either way, since time immemorial, they've been calling us conspiracy theory nut job. Oh, get a life, get a job, stop watching all those things. You're drying your brain. Da, 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 da. Yeah. Just for the past year, another 227 conspiracy theorists in the U.S. alone. I'm talking about like big
Listen,
platforms
this is old news now. I mean,
been proven right.
there's no such thing as conspiracy theory anymore.
Conspiracy reality. That's what I said.
Yeah, that's
The,
that's
defin-
been,
the definition of conspiracy is a plot. Is a
yeah.
plot. It's a secret scheme or scam or whatever.
But no, that's what I was saying is if you listen to just politicians today, they don't even have intelligent debate now. It's all ad hominem attacks. So, all right, I'm gonna go back to this video because we've
Sure.
only got 20 minutes.
All right, sure. Go for it.
Wars, because the banking industry is trying to take over the world. 9/11 is the beginning of the war on terror. That war on terror is leading us into Iraq, which is the next lie. So you had the lie of 9/11, how that happened. Nobody knows how Building 7 came down. Okay, we know 9/11 was a fraud.
Oh,
The American people don't know it, but more and more of them are believing it. Okay, so that was the first lie. Besides the inception, I'm not going back to the inception of the Federal Reserve, that original lie. But 9/11 was the first lie in this present state we're in. 9/11 is the kickoff of the war against the American people and the people of the world. 9/11 was a phony. It's a fraud. It didn't happen the way they told us it happened. Now, because of 9/11, we then had the authority to go into Afghanistan and Iraq.
the
Iraq didn't have
NDAA.
weapons of mass destruction. Okay, so that was the next lie. Now they're talking about going into Iran. Now, how would you feel if you were Iran and you had this big, powerful country, America, go into your next door neighbor, take over their oil fields, right? Wouldn't you be worried that what they're going to do to you? Of course you're going to be worried. But the people of America don't think about it from Iran's point of view. They think about it from our point of view. So now we're going to send more troops into Iraq and keep building up because they want Iraq and the Middle East to become part of the New World Order. And Iraq was using, Saddam wanted to start using euros instead of dollars, right?
He was messing up their whole consolidation.
Iran is wants to start using euros instead of dollars.
They are.
Okay, so I'm saying what they're trying to do is preserve their power, and one lie leads to the next lie, leads to the next lie, and until you get to the root cause of 9/11, which is supposedly the war on terror, we'll never solve our problems here. Should we send more troops into Iraq? Should we not send more troops into Iraq? Well, the fact is that it all goes back to this war on terror. Where did 9/11 come from? That's the root cause of everything. And until we have a full investigation, find out why Building 7 fell down, why they shipped all the steel out of America so quickly, from the buildings, why all the things that don't make any sense about 9/11, until we find out why it really happened, we'll never understand why there's a war on terror. And we'll never be able to prove that the war on terror is a phony. Nick and I discussed many things. One of the things we discussed, or he brought up in conversation, was reducing world population and felt that there were too many people in the world. In a way, I agree. There are too many people in the world, but I don't think I have the authority to say who's going to die and who's not going to die. But they felt that they wanted to reduce world population, and he felt that it should be reduced by a half. He even mentioned to me once they were having a real problem trying to solve the Israel-Palestinian problem, and he talked to me once about they were playing with the idea of bringing Israel to Arizona, and taking all the people from Israel and giving everybody $1 million and setting up Israel in the state of Arizona.
Unbelievable.
Just to end that problem, because that's a problem that they're not in charge of, in a sense. They're not controlling that problem. They're very arrogant. They can do whatever they want to do. We've given these people the authority to create money out of thin air.
But
and
I don't
through that
want to stop
device,
the video.
they control everything. And if you want to win the battle to stop that, you have to deny them the ability to create money. It's only because they can make money that they have all this power.
They literally have the money machines.
They have the money machines. They can print it. They can do whatever they want to do. They own everything.
Aaron, we take over pretty quick. If we were the guys that issued the money, everybody had to come give us real assets for the use of this money we just printed up.
People. I tell people, why in the world does the American government borrow money from the banks when they have the ability to create it themselves without borrowing it and paying interest on it? Why? And nobody can answer.
This is a huge question. And it's the question I ask a lot of financial people. And what he says is exactly what they tell me. I don't know. So I'm going to rewind this and play this because this guy this interview is gold. It really is. This
Yeah.
interview is gold. It's anybody who's asleep should just. This man is telling the truth.
Asleep in their comfort zone, or again, as I said, from other multiple angles, just ignorant, stupid, or whatever. But
Yeah.
again, it's just like if people see that and they can see real and what happened to them past tense.
As
And
Daryl Schoon says in the interviews many times over that I've had, nobody willingly gets off the couch. They have to be shoved. And so nobody's going to willingly give up their comfort level. There's no benefit for them. They don't see it. They don't see it.
this is why I don't care anymore, David. I
Yeah,
care about
well, this is you're preaching to the choir when you say that, my friend. This is why, I mean, I still do these videos. This is why we're doing this video here. But you know what? Nobody's going to hear this. Nobody's going to listen to this. But
Furthermore, even if they do, we split it into certain segments of the population that some will listen to it and actually do something about it. And then, what these two guys are just saying and talking about and showing me makes sense. And then you got the lazy, stupid, ignorant people who just oh come on, that's another. You know what? I can't be bothered with this nonsense. Every day it's something
this
new.
is why I use the
But
Titanic analogy because it works. Okay? When that ship hit the iceberg, you could continue singing and dancing, but if you did not get on a lifeboat, you died. 70% of the people on that ship died. And don't be surprised if 70% of the people in the United States die. Okay? Deagle 2025. It's starting to get some steam now because we're approaching 2025. I've done videos on that. Population in the United States is projected to go to 90 million people.
wins for some nasty rights.
Okay? So that's not 70%, but it's a lot of people. Okay, so listen to this part of this video, folks. This is gold right here.
Borrow money from in the world. People, I tell people, why in the world does the American government borrow money from the banks when they have the ability to create it themselves without borrowing it and paying interest on it? Why? And nobody can answer that question. Not one politician ever raises that. Why does the American government borrow money when they can create it without paying interest?
Well, we did create it up until 1913.
1913. And so people say, well, because if the American government does it, it'll create inflation. That's the answer. I say, well, let's look at it. The American government has the Federal Reserve do it, which creates the same inflation as if they did it. But also with the inflation, now you're getting massive debt. So with the Federal Reserve, you have inflation and debt. Now, if the American government made the money backed by gold, which limited the amount they could make, you would have debt and you would have inflation.
But inflation was only about 50% from the 1780s. I've looked it up until the late 1800s. And then we had the central banks already trying to cause some panics, which they then used to push the Federal Reserve. And if we look at inflation since 1913 into 2007, it's exponential. In fact, a dollar is worth about 2 pennies to what it was worth in 1913. Former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan doubled the money supply from 2000 to 2006. And then Edward Bernanke, the new Fed chief, came in and said he's going to double it again in the next few years. And then he said, now I'm going to make the money supply numbers secret. And so now we don't even know. But the evidence is they are just, in the curve of inflation, it gradually grows. And then suddenly at a point, it goes straight up. And it seems we've
It's
now
parabolic,
reached, parabolic.
But the thing is that the only thing I disagree with you on from early 1800 to 1913, there was no inflation other than during the Civil War. When Lincoln was
well, I'm talking about how much a dollar was worth. And I know
it never changed. There was no inflation. In that whole 100 years, there was no inflation. People knew what the money was worth. They could retire. They knew what it would cost them to live their lives out. There was no problem. It was only since 1913 when the Fed came in that we created massive inflation and massive debt.
So then what you said earlier, then there really wasn't inflation.
There was no inflation.
So you don't get inflation when the government issues the money, at least in the U.S. history.
Well, none of it's backed by gold.
Well, exactly. But I'm talking about, and I did look this up, and I believe that if you look after the country was set up, and some of the things that happened with Andrew Jackson and the rest of it, there were points where it spiked. And
I just want to emphasize one thing. The reason gold is a good hedge is because gold, okay, when you're backing your currency with anything, gold or lumber or anything of substance,
Hard assets with value, yeah.
you cannot increase your money supply. It basically restricts you. So if you want, and it forces your country to be productive. So what happened, the reason the United States will never willingly, ever go on a gold standard is because we would turn into a third world country overnight, the United States. Because you have to be a country that produces something. Otherwise, you have to give your gold to the people you're buying shit from. That's how it works. You can't have trade imbalances. You have to basically compensate that with your gold, and that means your currency becomes that much weaker, and it's a spiral. And that's why the United States went off the gold standard in 1971 or 72 and set up the petrodollar in 73.
You know
So-
how what's my analogy about this? The United States came to a point, well, at least the corporate United States, which were deceived by the bankers and other influential, high-profile individuals with interest. It's they wanted to keep their own produce, natural resources, timber, liquefied natural gas that comes with naturally with crude oil, gold, silver, copper, the works. They wanted to stay. They wanted to basically to get keep the cake, basically eat the whole cake, and leave it whole at the same time. So basically, they wanted to keep their own.
Well,
Um,
they'll get that with world depopulation.
yeah, but then
And
export
what?
their inflation, their funny money, monopoly money, donkey money, monkey money, whatever you want to call it, and then not just eat from their own pie, but also from the rest of the world pies.
When robots and androids get to the point, and it's pretty close. I mean, they can. If you look at videos of farms are now done with robots and drones and automatic. You set up a path for a tractor to go, and the tractor can do it all automatically. They don't need people. So
Yeah, you can also grow GMO garbage with the satellite beaming,
no,
but
no,
I
no. The rich people don't eat that. The rich people don't eat that.
no, they
My,
don't. That's what they produce for
but
us, the plebs.
that's why they're getting rid of the people.
Yeah, but
Listen, when they have the robots, you don't need people. You
okay,
don't need them.
okay. So were you saying that extreme gap of selectable few of haves and
Elishay,
depopulated
these people, they've been around for 1,000 years, their group. They're very patient.
the bloodline, not
They're like the Chinese, you know,
triads?
they don't, no, just the traditional Chinese. They don't think in
You're
terms of
talking about the Chinese ancient societies.
I'm
That's what,
just using it as an example for crying
all
out
right.
loud.
Go on. Go on.
Okay? All I'm
Yeah.
saying is they're not thinking about next year, they're thinking about the next century.
Yeah.
So I don't have to kill you to get rid of you, Elishay. I just
Yeah.
have to listen. If they do something to your kids and your kids can't have kids, they've
Mm.
achieved their goal. If they now have people having one baby instead of three, in 100 years, it's going to be one fraction of the original population. So they don't have to mass murder a trillion people. They can just let time be their ally. Okay? That's all.
Sure.
All right. Let's go back to Aaron Russo here.
And I believe that if you look after the country was set up, and some of the things that happened with Andrew Jackson and the rest of it, there were points where it spiked and there were manipulations.
There were points, mostly during the Civil War.
Yeah. And that's because Lincoln printed so much money.
Exactly. That's right. But once that ended, but basically there was no inflation other than that during that short period of time. I mean, a loaf of bread was a loaf, of course, the same thing. People could plan their lives. Today, they plan inflation. Now you have two parents working. They can't afford to pay for their family anymore. The kids are going to state-run schools now. The kids are being indoctrinated how to think. They're being given Ritalin. They're being given all these drugs. The whole country is being dumbed down. It's all because of the Federal Reserve System. And the Federal Reserve System and these bankers are responsible for the demise of America. And if we ever want to win this battle, you must shut down the Federal Reserve System. And we must shut down these bankers and restore sound money to this
Can
country.
you talk a little bit about some of the families that own the private Federal Reserve, the stock in it? I mean, obviously, you say you're not a big expert on Bilderberg Group, but you talk about how it's the same system worldwide. It is the same families. They meet and kind of set the policy each year, and then it goes to the Royal Institute of International Affairs in England. It goes to CFR in the U.S., and then these are their management bodies where they wield control, really the de facto Congresses over the nation. So, I mean, I would like you to speak some about the families that own and run the Federal Reserve, and if you can't connect it into these other international bodies.
Well, I can't speak to those families because I can only speak about, what I know for fact. Everything else is speculation, and I don't like to speculate. I know about Rockefeller because I was friends with him. We talked about it, and I can tell you firsthand.
What did Rockefeller tell you about the Federal Reserve and their family owning part of it?
Well, he said the New York Fed is the main controlling interest of the Federal Reserve System. They control the bulk of it. So the New York Fed is really the Federal Reserve System. Even though there's 12 different banks, it's run by the New York Fed. And the New York Fed is basically the Federal Reserve System. So who's ever running the New York Fed is where, and the families that control it, control the New York Fed. And they're the main engine behind the Federal Reserve System.
And that's a wing of the Bank of England.
Well, the Bank of England and the Federal Reserve are partners, and the Bank of England is a private bank, and so is the Bundesbank in Germany, and the bank of all the banks of the G8 countries are all private banks. They're private central banks. And look, what happened in Europe? Didn't Europe?
I think that most people in the United States are not aware of that fact. And that's why they're not audited. And it's why it's like letting an enemy run your country.
Yeah, silent and deadly.
What we've done is we basically, a few people have sold out their country for a pound of flesh.
Mhm.
And like we talk about the internet, 100 years later, nobody remembers anything about why the Federal Reserve or how it was implemented unless you read Robinson's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Yeah, which
It
is
talks
exactly
about
what I
that.
was trying to tell you from the beginning, before we even started to watch this magnificent documentary.
Well, buddy, I need you basically to try to express your thoughts in much more concise manners, because we go off on these tangents.
It doesn't. No. It doesn't always work like that. You gotta. It's called like a building up, get into it, building up story, like when you get to it,
Yeah, that
building up to it. I'm just saying. Sometimes you gotta get the sidebar in order to get the main point. Sometimes, and not. I'm not just talking about necessarily you. I'm talking about to the audience, whoever watching or will watch it in the future. What we're talking about right now. And this is what I was trying to tell you. The apex level elites and the structural pyramid. Whoever's on the top is on the top. I don't care. Let them burn in hell for all I care. But um, what I'm trying to say is,
I don't know what you're trying to say.
no, I'm trying to say is that like they feel that enough time has passed. One generation passed away. There is like one, two, maybe three generation, and now there is the new generation that coming up of the last 3 to 4 generations. They're
They don't care anymore. They don't
yeah,
care anymore.
I know that, but what I'm trying to say is that
They're,
maybe
they're,
it's
they're
time.
now outwardly doing these things because they don't think there's any repercussions at all.
Yeah, but maybe now it's time to phase out certain things. Like let's say, let's not teach anymore about World War I, World War II, the Holocaust. Maybe let's leave it as like there's no more there's no more Holocaust. There's the Holocaust theory. There's no more World War II. There's the World War II theory or World War I theory. And before you know it, those things are not facts. Those things and what happened and took place over there are not facts. They're assumptions or a myth of some sort.
Well, I wasn't around. See, well, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. This is what I'm saying is you go off on these. I'm not saying it's not good information, but it's just too much, because we get back to who wrote
It's
the
the
history.
same.
Who wrote the history? I wasn't
But the
around back then.
Neither am I. But that's my point. Just like you said, it's equivalent to what you said. In 5 years' time, people who watch this and type in Aaron Russo Wikipedia page or Alex Jones for that matter, said like uh, two well-known uh, enemies of humanity, terrorists. One has
I
died.
had one of my
Yada yada yada.
relatives.
One is
I
still
had
alive
one
and
of
on the
my
run.
relatives try to chastise me because I was doing the Bill Cooper series, and he looked up online and said, "Bill Cooper killed some IRS tax agent. He's a scumbag." Blah, blah. Listen, that whole thing was all manufactured. I'm not even going to go down that path, but there's a perfect example. He's reading something online and accepting it as fact.
Yes,
When the way the guy lived his life, he was nothing but trying to wake people up, kind of like what Aaron Russo was doing here, but Bill Cooper did it for longer. And yeah, we have dozens of these people, and you know what? They're dead. They're dead. Whether they're whether their death was worth it or not doesn't matter. They're dead.
Hey,
And if you believe in God, you believe in salvation, well, then death isn't the worst thing.
obviously, I know that better than most.
And
There's
I think that's what
very
Aaron Russo came to the conclusion. You're muted again. So whether
muted. I'm not muted.
yeah, well, please invest in a new microphone or something.
I just did. I don't know what's wrong with it.
Yeah, well, it's because it's not near your mouth; it's under your chin.
Okay, so should I put it like this, like an extra plastic
Yeah,
mustache or something?
well, it's a shitty design. It's a shitty design. Get
Could
an
be, yeah.
actual microphone.
All right. I'll make sure to allocate some funds for a better design.
Or you're going to just have to hold it in your hand. So
Like this, like this.
listen,
Yeah,
I
sure.
understand what it's like. I have two 14-year-old computers, so I'm the pot calling the kettle black. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, listen, I'm running out of gas here, and so I don't remember if there's anything after this video that's critical, but I'll put the link to this video that we're watching so people can go watch it themselves.
Sure.
And but the reason it's so important is it's just another person in our history who died trying to do what was right.
Exactly.
And that is what happens to people who try to do what's right is you get killed or you get Assanged. Okay?
Yeah.
Or Epstein, whatever you want to call it. So
Exactly.
it's
And that's another thing, by the way, another thing I wanted to ask you earlier on.
can't hear you.
I'm saying that's another thing that I wanted to ask you earlier on in the show, in the live stream. Would you say that the guards, the special forces, whoever the fuck they were, that were guarding Jeffrey Epstein room in that alleged the same night, allegedly the cameras weren't working, there was a power shortage and everything. Could you say to them, to whoever they are, I'm pretty sure they're like not legit law enforcement. I'm pretty sure they're like uh, mercenaries and hired guns, sell
Well, the
sorts.
whole Epstein thing's a joke. I mean, number one, we haven't demanded answers to that. And we haven't demanded that they release
You
all
can
of the
demand,
information from that woman's trial.
yeah, you can demand all you
They
want.
didn't, they
You-
wouldn't even take photos. They were doing cartoons of her.
exactly. Listen, you
She
can
could have been
demand
on
all
a beach.
you can demand all you want. You're not gonna get anything, and if you're lucky to get
And the
anything,
list, they won't
you,
release the
you
list of names. I wonder
yeah,
why.
you shouldn't wonder. You already know the answer. It's in
Yeah.
your head. You just have to say
Well,
it out loud.
it's a rhetorical statement, Elishay.
I get it. I get it. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, you're not gonna get any answers. And the one you do get, it's gonna be pure BS. What I'm trying to say, in addition to that, is that how do you would you say the same thing that these people have only done their jobs,
No, they're
feed
criminals.
themselves or
They're
the family?
criminals. The guy who was the attorney general said he watched the tapes and he didn't see anything wrong.
No, no, that's completely normal to deflower a smuggled 14-year-old. That's completely legit. Yep, you're right. Wouldn't
No, this is where I've said
for
it in
anyone else.
many, many videos. This is what the Chinese get right is they have a trial. When you're convicted, they take you right out back. You kneel down right in front of a mound of dirt, and somebody comes up behind you and puts a slug in the back of your head, and you're gone. Problem solved. Problem solved. The French use guillotines,
Are we
but
talking about capital? Are we talking about capital punishment and execution for any crime or for those kind of crimes? The highest of the highs.
we have to. I, I got to go because I'm literally running out of gas. But I've said it many. My stance hasn't changed on this.
Mm.
You have to have trials and executions, and and you have to, because what happens is if I rob you like Sam Bankman fraud, if I rob you of $1 trillion and I get fined $1 billion and I keep the rest and I have to serve 3 years in jail, most people are going to say, wow, I can go to Club Med prison camp, work on my tan and work on some weights and get a law degree for free, get all my this done, and I walk out and I've got 500 billion stored away. They're going to keep doing it. Once people realize that if you violate your fiduciary responsibility, if you commit treason, if you commit crimes against humanity, you're forfeited your right to be on this planet. And okay, if we decide as a population that it's not up to us to play God, okay, then I guess we're going to have to build a lot more prisons. But there has to be
A red line in the sand.
fear. It's the only thing, fear and greed, other than lust, are the two greatest emotions in the human markets and in how human. Think about that. Think about the times when you've been doing something, or like in the US, you're driving 90 miles an hour, then you see a cop, and yet fear goes right through you and you slow down and you do the speed limit. And then when you think he's gone, you start speeding again, right? So it's the same thing in life. I mean, if we have to have a population of people where we regulate ourselves, okay? And for a lot of people who believe in God and believe in humanity and believe in being a good person, they will regulate themselves. They're not going to go murder somebody for a billion. If you said, "Hey, shoot Elishay in the head," and you get $10 million, I'm not going to do it. Not unless I'm defending myself. But I'm not going to kill you just for money. Okay, and that's really what it boils down to, folks. The United States is going around the world killing people for comfort and for money and power. And we have allowed it to happen because I have a great lifestyle. Listen, you compare, because I was born where I was born, I got advantages that some poor bastard in the Philippines or Africa or Kazakhstan didn't have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Palestine, or Mexico. I'm in Mexico.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talented people down here, but because they're Mexican and they're in this system, they're screwed, man. And China, what about China? When you're 1 in a million in China, you're 1 in a million. Because there's 1 trillion people.
Over 1 trillion people, actually.
Yeah.
So, sorry, over 1.6 billion, 1.8 now.
Yeah, billion. Yeah, billion. I meant. Yeah, not 1 trillion.
No.
This is. I'm losing it, man.
No, it's fine. I totally get it. It's fine. If you need some rest or you put
No,
another
when it
coffee
gets to
whatever.
nighttime, I've just been up since 5 in the morning, so I start to get a little tired.
Yeah, fair enough. Like,
I'm not like you. I'm not Superman anymore.
No, not necessarily. Look, I'm living the same lifestyle, and sometimes I told you, just like the other night and the week before, I just dove into bed, like, and I just I was so tired. I was
Yeah.
sleeping so deep. I couldn't. If I don't know, it probably would take a 50 pounds bomb in 12 meters away to wake me up or some shit like that.
Well,
I know, no, I know.
yeah.
I get where you're coming from. Trust me, it get me sometimes. Well, sometimes I work so hard and so long. Sometimes I don't get this sleep for 3, 4 days in a row.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
I'm not saying it's healthy, but sometimes I work so hard and so long that I don't sleep 2, 3, 4 days in a row, and in between meals,
Well, you know,
coffees.
Michael Jackson died from an overdose from I think propofol or something like that, a propofol or I'm horrible with this medical stuff, but they gave me that. They knocked me out with that when I got my colonoscopy. Other than having my teeth removed when I was 13, the molars
Mm.
that you're supposed to have removed, they gave me gas for that. This is the first time I've been had a medical procedure, and I can tell you, when I woke up, I was out for an hour. Man, I felt like $1 million. So I understand why Michael Jackson hired an anesthesiologist to that's how he went to sleep.
Yeah, never.
Imagine the demons that guy must have been carrying to have to be drugged to go to sleep. Oh my God.
Yeah, but never to be awake again.
Well, that was unfortunate because
That same doctor, that same
I think
doctor
he
who
went to
killed my.
jail. Yeah.
No,
Didn't he go to jail?
no, he's protected comfortably. It was all a shit show that they sold to the American
Oh,
public. That's that same doctor who ghost off and killed by design Michael Jackson because of the shit he experienced and he knew he was about to expose to some degree, and all that fancy talk about him and molesting children. That same.
well, you
That's
know,
how,
it's a great cover story because, oops, I made a mistake, right?
no, but that's the hilarious story. That same doctor who killed off Michael Jackson was the same
Did
doctor.
he kill somebody else?
No, well, yes, not only he killed somebody else, but he was in the post-mortem autopsy team
For
of,
Epstein?
yes.
No, no.
Yes.
I joked with saying that.
Yeah, yeah, I was
Hey, let's
literally, you beat me
find
to
this
it 2 seconds.
guy. He's our buddy.
He's a fucking
It's
CIA
almost as
spook.
insane as what the JFK Commission had one of the Dulles brothers on who was fired by JFK.
Yeah.
JFK fired this guy and they put him on the committee to find out who killed JFK. And nobody questioned it. I mean, like attorneys and judges, they're supposed to recuse themselves, right?
This is a joke. This is a joke. It's like putting the
Well,
fox in the hen house.
this is what I said earlier is once you're awake, you never see things the same way again because it's like pulling a thread. It's all interconnected. It's all a fraud. It's all a fraud. And I don't know what the hell my parents were thinking because they bought into everything. And they
That's a
weren't stupid people. They were just so busy trying to advance the lives of their family and they had 4 little kids.
that's what I was about to tell you earlier on when you mentioned one of your cousins and the guy who was talking about Bill Cooper and the four or five what was it called, like a behold a great
Behold the
pale
Pale
horse.
Horse. Behold the Pale Horse is his book. It's a huge book. In fact, that reminds me, I got to read another section. I haven't read one in about 6 months.
Yeah, so basically, behold, a pale great horse, one of the four riders of the apocalypse, or something like that, the end of days.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you think for a second, whatever the level of closeness may or may not be, that I don't have to deal with those kind of numbnuts.
Can't hear you.
When I don't have to deal with those kind of numbnuts in my family and social circles, then I got newsflash for you. I do, and quite often, by the way, just to let you know.
Well, it's made me, I can tell you right now, it's made me now, I I always preface, like when I sent you some stories like on WhatsApp, I'll
Yeah.
say if this is true, right? Because when I see something posted on Twitter about, like one just posted that Biden had a medical emergency, right? I'm not there, but somebody with a million followers, so and in the news industry is posting this. So is it true? Well, they'll know better than me because I'm in Mexico. So it's it comes down to you know I think we always have to be skeptical of information until it proves out. And because
Sure.
there's just too much fraud out there right now in the stock markets, in our governments, in sports, probably in every aspect of life now. It's I mean, you've got men swimming as women now. I
Sure.
mean,
That,
that's a
that
pretty
makes
big
total.
fraud.
Yeah. Can you hear me now, by the way?
I can hear you.
Okay, no, because I changed positions of the mic, so now so we'll work better off, so it won't be any more problems like when
Well,
I
when you
turn my
turn,
head.
okay, we'll find
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, either way, what I'm trying to say is that like you got corruption and deceptions in the highest level, not just in the government or corporations or society as a whole. We're living in a very messed up time, fucked up times. It's really hard
Well,
to know what
before
to
we
believe.
go, I want to ask you just in closing, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but
Yeah,
are you surprised that Julian Assange is alive and he was actually released?
yeah.
I,
I'm
I'm
not even.
shocked. I'm shocked.
I'm not even
When
sure
that
that's the guy.
story came out, I was like, "Is this real?" I was so happy. I was like, "This can't. Why? Why would they let this man go?"
Especially after what he exposed about them or what was he willing to give away about them. I mean, he enraged them so much that he put like Hitlery Rodham
Yeah,
Clinton
he
saying,
exposed that she was behind the Russian
yeah, but like
news.
basically she actually quote unquote, why can't we just drone him?
Yeah, yeah, they all wanted him dead.
So
Republicans and Democrats. They all
repulsive
wanted
fin
him
and demon
dead.
rats. I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. Like, but what? So
Just
it
like
doesn't.
they were trying to kill Assange when he was hiding in Kowloon, across from Hong Kong. And
Yeah.
anybody who's been to Kowloon, you know how much of a maze it is. And the people who were hiding Assange had better people. I mean, you send in your spies, your kill teams into Kowloon, they don't know the place. They're not going to find. They're not. You're not going to find anybody who doesn't want to be found.
Yeah, but in a world of so much misinformation and disinformation and deception and corruption, how do you know that's really even him and not a clone or an avatar or a face
Who are we
double or some
talking
shit?
about? Assange?
Yeah, how do you know that
Yeah.
they really released him?
Well,
Because
I guess
because
you.
I got pictures of him when he was like before he was taking refuge in the what was it the Peruvian, Bolivian, or Ecuadorian embassy in London. I forgot which one it was. Either way, one of
Yeah, he was
those
in the
three.
Ecuadorian.
Ecuadorian. That there you go. That one of that.
He was there for I think 7 years. Yeah, and your microphone's going out again.
All right, sorry about that.
Can't hear you at all now.
Now you can.
Yep.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
here's my question. I've seen pictures of him on the run while he was on the run before the
No,
whole big.
no. I'm not going to be able to answer this question because there are people who claim that um, Jim Carrey is playing Biden, or these people are playing Biden, and they have this mask on. And mass technology today is much more advanced than we're told.
Yeah, 100%. But my question is different. I've seen pictures before, during, and after this whole shenanigans debacle, and now I've seen him, you know, quite healthy. Do you remember that picture when he was taken away to arrest and he was all like
Where they carried
not
him out?
yeah, but he wasn't very well nurtured. He was long beard and everything, and he was looked very pale and very sick and very
Yeah.
weakened and everything. That's kind of like the pictures when everybody went to the streets and like hands off Assange and everything. And my question is like, how suddenly he's like kind of you're well fit,
Well,
he's
you
out
know, I was
there.
surprised. I was surprised, and I'm not saying he was fat, but he actually was kind of chubby getting out of that jail.
Not just that, I'm talking about fully fit, walking with full confidence. Listen,
And I was
eh,
also surprised he was able to climb those stairs
of this is airplane.
unassisted, like without a railing, because
Uh,
he's been in a 3 by 6 room for 5 years.
Not just that, think about all the psychological, mental, emotional, and physical abuse of the torturing that he went through. How does a person like that doesn't even flinch, blink his eyes, or even have a little bit of a tick of like a shaking hand or something, something. To me,
I was surprised because all you'd hear is he's close to death. He's not going to make it another year. And I was surprised, other than him being overweight, I was surprised how good he looked.
there you have it. So that's kind of like where my is. I don't know if it's real or not, and if it is, it's a total shock to me. I
Well,
couldn't believe.
it could be. The only thing is the new wife would have to be in on it. The father would have to be in on it, right?
Or maybe they just told, listen, we just ghosted them off anyway a few years ago. You're just gonna have to accept this man, and just for housing this man, we're gonna pay you millions or billions of dollars or whatever. Just keep your mouth shut. Otherwise, the same shit is gonna come your way.
Yeah, you just don't know because during COVID there was a football player on the Buffalo Bills who died on the field. And there's a big conspiracy, like he wouldn't show himself, right? There was like a shadow of him waving to
Yeah,
people, but they weren't showing him. And people are like, this guy's dead. And isn't it insane that we have such low confidence in the people that we should? It's what I was saying earlier about fiduciary responsibility, LSA.
yeah.
Listen, it's already at the point where people have to pay. It's already at the point. People have already sold out our countries for their own personal gains. Okay, or they sold them out for another club that they're in that is not the United States or not your country. Okay, because as we've talked about, the Bushes, they belong to whatever group they're in. The United States means nothing to those people. It
Of
only means
course,
it only
that's a
means
given.
something. It only means something because it was a tool that was able to achieve their objective. That's all.
Well,
Okay.
this is why I told you that like sometimes you have to kind of like tune up your way of thinking. Not just you. I'm talking about the general public, and to think in a way that I know. Let's put it this way. Think about there is you're an elite and there's another elite, and you're a competition to one another, right? Well, he done something to upset you. You can't always come in an emotional way of oh, I'm going to hurt him so badly, he's never going to recover, and I'm going to take over his end of the pipe, because further down the line there might be another apex level elite stronger player in the game, yeah, that you might need the assistance of that person who just annoyed you. But basically, you hurt him so badly and you annoyed him and offended him so badly, he'll never do business or work with you ever again. Which hence is the my analogy of like sometimes in life you gotta accept that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, even though I don't fully approve what they say or what they do. And what I'm referring to is right now the battle that rages on between the London Corporation and the Federal Reserve, in front of the Davos crowd, the World Economic Forum, and A15, a highly secretive tentacle of those two groups that I mentioned earlier on, the Davos and the WEF crowds. They're in battle with each other now. The London Corporation is tend to sides more with the sides of the Americans, because the Davos and the WEF crowds and all those shit tards, retarded freaks over there, and their puppets, they want to go back to a full blown new feudalistic enterprise of plantation workers of Slavelandia. Um, the Federal Reserve and the London Corporation have a similar agenda, but not so quickly, not so fast, and not in that way. They have something along the line of CBDCs, or the big bullshit of like Schwabi boy, who now been replaced by his right hand, or the hand he used to wipe
Yeah,
his
yeah.
ass with, Yuval Noah Harari, that Israeli raging homosexual. It's kind of like, you know what? Listen to that guy talks about life. It's basically um, I don't know, letting a serial killer lecturing uh, doctors and professors about the secrecy of life and how important life is. It's like listening to a disease carrying street whore lecturing a Catholic nun about modesty and chastity belts. That's how ridiculous this is. Get what I'm saying?
No, I'm kind of fading, dude.
Yeah, you have right. So either way, I'm saying, like, listen to this guy talking about the past, the present, and looking towards the future. Yuval Noah Harari, look for him. He's an Israeli, uh, not necessarily a Jew, and if it is, he's a spoiled brat. Oh, everybody was mean to me as I was growing up, so the revenge of the nerds or some shit like that. Either way, what I'm trying to say is, like, listen to this guy talk, because he's the one who's replacing right now Klaus Schwab. I don't know if they crossed him off. Basically, they
Well, he was supposedly sick with something.
no,
So
no. So again, either they crossed him off, or he's sick, or they planted some sort of a seduction Mickey into him, and he's right now being persecuted about sexual misconduct, which is not exactly a
well,
misdemeanor.
let's just. I'll give you 30 seconds, okay? If you can hopefully phrase an answer in 30 seconds, not
Yeah,
30 minutes.
go
But
on.
basically, anybody who's going to watch this Aaron Russo video,
Yeah.
wh- so what? What's it going to do for their lives?
Depends on the individual, but we'll see. We'll have to wait and see by the comment section.
Well, I mean, if they believe what this man's saying, what are they going to do about it? We're not
If
getting
they
rid of the
if they
Federal Reserve.
if they actually believe, yeah, they I think in one point or another they're gonna get off the grid. Some are gonna get off the grid. Some are gonna revolt. Some are gonna say, "Hey, we've been had. You conned us. You tricked us. We're not going into this modern age slow motion slavery. Fuck that shit. No, not happening. Not happening." I'm not getting to a point when I have no food for myself, let alone for my children. I can go with no food for 3, 4 days, or maybe arguably more. Children, there's no such thing. Children go hungry. Well, actually, unfortunately, in this world, there is. If there was any justice in this world, Dave, I can tell you the endless list that of executions of elites and their generals and their lieutenant colonels and their captains and the first class, second class, third class, their puppet politician and their handlers, the
Yeah, well,
lobbyists,
it makes sense. I mean,
the
if you
death
want to be on the
merchants.
winning team, then you join those people. That's how they get them. If you want to be on the losing team, join Bill
No,
Cooper,
no. I'm talking about. I'm talking
join
about,
Aaron
like, to be on the
Russo.
positive side, to actually be on the good side and the winning side at the same time. Basically, be on the good side that is actually, for once, for fucking once, prevails and win the battle against evil, against
Yeah.
those satanic.
So
You know what?
this is where I don't think there's what I mean. There might be people who are trying to make a change, but I don't think that there's an active white hats group who are making any progress on this at all.
No, I do, but it's not as
You
much as
do?
I do, but I don't think it's in a large scale as JW claims it is. I think there is a lot of, let's put it this way, powerful elements that are acting in behalf of humanity. I've seen proofs of that
Can't hear
myself.
you. Yeah.
I'm saying I've seen proof of that myself, of like good. I'm not gonna call it white hats or white alliance or white whatever. The good people, because among them there's also white, black, brown, whatever. I'm just saying I have seen proof of that from different sections and
Well, you know, the Russians and the Chinese might actually be the good guys here.
could be
Who would have ever thought that?
exactly after decades of brainwashing.
It's well, it's what I've said about the Star Wars movies. I don't know the names of the. I know the names of the first three Star Wars or the first two, whatever they. Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, that type of thing. But the first one of the second series, back in 2000, it was about the senator from the Republic, right? A republic, the senator. He became the emperor, and the Jedi's became the bad
Bad
guy,
guy, the terrorists, yeah,
the terrorist.
allegedly, exactly, yeah.
And I'm thinking of when I watched that, I'm like, gee, what are they talking about? It was as clear as day that they were talking about the United States.
Yeah. If you got a chance, get a follow up on the TV series. There's a few of them. There's the short one and the long one of 4 seasons, and also the in between the timeline movies. If you ever watch Battlestar Galactica,
Oh yeah,
Battle.
I watched that when I was a kid. Oh
Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah, with
You're
the Scions or whatever they were called, the metal machines.
Cylons.
Cylons,
Yeah,
yeah,
the metal machines and the human models, those
yeah.
12 models.
That was
Uh,
one of my favorite shows. They didn't have recording back then. I don't think because I'd make sure I was there to watch it when I
yeah,
was. I think I was like 7.
no, but I'm not talking about the old ones. They made a remake. You're talking about the 70s one.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about, you're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about the 1970,
Yeah. I
the
didn't know
TV
they made a
series.
remake.
And they did a remake. So type it in that same website you sent me of free
Okay.
movies and TV series.
Yeah.
Type in Battlestar Galactica. It will give you the different years. Just follow up now. It's going to be
Okay.
mini
Yeah, yeah.
series. Hear me out. Mini series followed by a series, followed by 2, 3 movies, and then another mini series. Either way,
All
it's
modern?
yeah. We're talking about what? We're talking about like
I'm just aware of the old TV show, and I think they did one movie. But now
no.
you're saying there's more series
So
and miniseries.
yeah, they did 2003, 2004, all the way to 2007, 2009, and then they came
Okay.
out with two in between.
Well, why is
Um,
it? Why do you?
movie.
Why are you recommending it?
Because this is how not just they're giving you a notion. This is how they're telling you the truth through fiction about what happened, what's happening, what will happen, and
Yeah.
sometimes people don't notice. People
Well,
who are
that's
not
what the Satanists do. The
yes,
Luciferians.
but people who are not initiated and aware, fully aware about what's going on, will not notice those things.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
I'm saying people who are not initiated and aware will not notice these signs. You still can't hear me?
No, it's like your hand is over the microphone.
Oh, okay. How about now?
Yep, better.
Okay. So I'm saying people who are not fully alerted, aware, vigilant. Yeah. Hold on. Can you hear me now better?
It's muffled.
Muffled.
Now I can hear you.
Oh, right. What I'm saying is people who are not fully alerted, aware, vigilant, and initiated will not pay attention to those signs. They will not pay attention to those signs. For them, it's just another cool sci-fi.
That's fine. I get it. I can't hear anything you're saying. but I understand what you're saying. I understand what you mean.
Right.
Yeah. So, hey, well, thanks for joining me, Elishay. And
Always a pleasure, my friend.
yeah, and thanks for resending that video to me because it's I watch these videos periodically because I kind of forget them, and then when I watch it again, it refreshes. It makes me mad all over again.
Keeps you alive, is what it is. Keeps you alive and aware and
Well,
give you
it's
it's
just
like keep you good.
unbelievable. It's just unbelievable that a population has allowed the country to fall this far. It's just so absolutely disgusting that all we got to do, like you said, is give people a few grains of bread, few pieces of bread, and they're happy.
Mm. Like a flock of birds,
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
bunch of urban pigeons.
yeah. Salente, I'll tell you. I know you have your issues with him with Israel, but
No, not with Israel. I'm aligned with them when it comes to the Israeli regime. I just don't
I don't
know
want to go
what he
down.
have. Yeah, yeah, I know. I just don't know
I'm
what he
just
got
saying that people should
against
listen
Jews
to
as a whole.
people should listen to Salente because he really is able to break it down. The corruption. There's so much corruption, and if you have to, it really comes this simple. If you have to kill somebody, right?
Mm.
Like if you're invading another country or you're bombing another country, then there's probably something wrong with that story, unless you're defending yourself.
No?
And 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 I look at like taking out these people as self-defense that I mentioned earlier. We just got to do something like Anthony Fauci. What the fuck is? I mean, why isn't this guy been prosecuted? There's, I mean, from what I understand, there's enough evidence to tie him to the AIDS viruses, and so he was a criminal 40 years ago.
He's not gonna be touched.
No, he's what is he? 85 years old. It's going to take. I was saying this to one of my sisters. He'll have to pay in the afterlife because he's not going to pay on this earth.
Oh, it's trust me, it's better because if he's gonna pay in the afterlife instead of on this earth.
I hope to God, because I'm just basing on the Bible and everything else. I hope to God that there is, um, and I asked this in an interview with Dan a long time ago, a discussion. Imagine if Anthony Fauci's on his deathbed and he seeks forgiveness and he gets absolved of his sins before he dies and then he doesn't suffer eternally. Well, I guess that's the way it rolls sometimes.
No, it really isn't. That's a big
No?
fuck you to the rest of us. Do you think he's gonna get absolved of all his sins after
Well,
people?
it's like William McNamara. He was Secretary of Defense during Vietnam War. He was behind all of the crimes and the facade and the lies. He wrote a book just before he died, admitting all of this was a lie. And I think he did that thinking that it would get him into heaven.
Mm,
Whether it does or
mixing,
not, we'll find out.
yeah, but mixing your faith and with this earthly deception, you got to realize there's a lot of psyops going on, and some of them are like meant to throw you off from the rail that you're on. Sometimes you got to realize they expose nasty stuff to feed to the public in order to prevent from the really bad nasty stuff
Yeah.
to coming into light because the
They'll
human
believe this. This enough. Like the JFK papers, right?
exactly.
Right.
But if
Or
just
Epstein, right? A couple names were released.
yes, but my main point is that like there's certain things that they've done in the past or recently or planning doing in the future that the human mind wouldn't be able to handle it. You're gonna have massive panic, and you're gonna have legions upon legions of people marching into their dooms in order to get these people. And I'm talking about even in their fucking bunkers. It doesn't matter.
I think I'm tired of that argument. I think that a government's responsibility is to provide information to the people. This is just my opinion. There's very little that should be top secret and not for public consumption.
Okay. Well, governments are owned nowadays, and just like other
And
small, medium, big size businesses,
because
they can
think of
bankrupt.
if you like that woman who was on that cancer treatment and is now on hospice care.
Yeah.
Do you think the doctors are not giving her cold hard truth?
I guess we'll never know.
Well, of course they are now. They're like, you're going to die. Get hospice.
Yeah.
That,
So basically,
that's pretty harsh.
and
So
that's
the
also very evil because basically after the
no. What I'm
doctor.
saying is the truth of her condition. If they continue to lie to her until she's like, I can't walk anymore, it's like, at what point do you tell people, hey, this is what's happening, man? I think you should
Yeah.
always be telling your citizens what's happening.
Yeah,
And
to begin with, I think, I agree with what you're saying, but like to begin with, I think governments, no matter where you go, worldwide, yeah, they're illegal, they're illegitimate. There shouldn't be any governing body.
that's well,
That's
that's what the question I asked you before is how many lies do you accept? And this is where it's proof that they are illegitimate and they need to go. It needs the Constitution is a very good document, but if you don't allow the Constitution to be adhered to, if you ignore it, if you decide, hey, I'm not going to follow it, and there's no retribution, no punishment, no rollback, then this is the world we get.
yeah,
It's like not following the word of God.
yeah. The problem is that now, right now, like all those incest. Bastards and illegitimate I don't know, like the squad, like AOC and Ilan Omar and all those,
Yep.
I don't know, freak shows and everything, and all those useful idiots, prepaid and bought for, when they come to your face, it's not even covertly anymore, it's in
All
your
you got to
face.
do is look at their bank account before they went to Congress and after.
But no, but you know what, even
That-
before you go in that deep, all you gotta
That's not very deep. That's just a statement,
okay, but they
bank
come
statement.
into your face and telling you like we cannot look for the Constitution for instructions. We can just look for inspiration and then interpret
Yeah.
it in our way.
Yeah.
What is that? Sorry, what is that?
They call that a living document where they can adapt it and change it to whatever they want.
No, no,
When
no. I'm sorry.
when
What is it to interpret it like about the first, second, third, 10th Amendment, 20, 15, 16? What is it to interpret? You know what? For example, the Second Amendment, like the right to bear arms and that only gold and silver is qualified as money. And also, I think there's another article, I forgot which amendment this is, that prevents and basically holds accountable uh, basically the United States to waging on foreign wars, yeah, without uh, a probable cause, and Congress has to declare a
yeah,
war before the president announces.
The Supreme Court just overruled that,
Well, there you go.
and
That just goes to show
which
you.
is yeah. I mean, don't know what to tell you. I mean, the tenth. Okay, have a good night. Otherwise, we'll be here for another 3 hours.
Sure thing.
Happy Sunday for you.
And you as well.
Well, yeah, but it's still Saturday here.
Well, it's about what, like a couple of hours away from changing
Yeah,
the clock as well.
yeah, it's
But either way,
9:42, and
100%.
I'm falling on my head.
Get some
Peace.
rest. I'll catch up
Thanks.
with you. Take care, brother.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye bye.